loved it. So it's really useful for creating all my own campaign specific monsters. So it's been great.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Make sure I don't have any conflicts. By the way, I have an emote that is Jay presses the wrong button emote. You'll see it tonight because I always do something wrong. So
Oh yeah, that's part of the
charm.
tradition here. Yeah.
I love
You
it.
should a turtle and a wrong button.
Yeah,
and
my
stuff,
damn
so,
South
yeah.
Jersey Philly accent's a killer.
Yeah, he said was saying total. He says turtle.
Turtle. I say turtle.
Love it.
So there's a
Turtle
special emote
Yeah,
for
we
that.
got the turtle
in
emote. I
Twitch.
just popped it up there.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
need to log into Twitch too.
Yep.
Call and Twitch when you broadcast someone else's.
So, Mike,
Oh
you got,
yeah, I don't know how to do that.
There's a name for it. I don't know that doesn't.
what's that?
What's it called when like you host someone else's feed? Like
Oh, you can't auto-host anymore. They got rid of that.
nah, it's the thing where like I don't think it's the same thing. Where
Yeah.
basically like anybody that happens to be on my channel, which is hardly anybody, would see your channel instead.
Right. You can
Yeah.
you can do a dual. I think it's a dual host. It's called. I think. Yeah. Hey, tabletop. Good to see you. Thanks, Thunder. Excited to hear from Sly Flourish. Well, you're going to hear from him shortly.
Yep.
You too.
We're excited to hear from you.
No one's excited.
No,
I just spent
Yeah,
3.5 hours
I
on my
am.
feed earlier today.
I thought I was just here to fangirl over Sly Flourish and Greenwood, and that's what I was
We all are.
gonna do.
I can fangirl over both of you. Yeah.
Let's do Anna and I'll just fangirl this whole time.
Yes. Yep.
Let's make it extra weird then.
Yep.
It's all good. Love it. This is number 15 of our DM's Roundtables going back 5
Yeah,
years.
we've had one every couple per year. Yep.
I've done no homework.
Absolutely.
Should I have done homework?
No, you should. No, that's
Homework.
the good thing. It's
I don't,
very
I don't,
and
I don't know what we're talking about.
But
We're talking
this
about
is
campaigns.
your-
Challenges of running
Yeah,
a
but
D&D
this-
campaign. Very
yeah,
basic
and
stuff.
you
Challenges
have
running a
way
D&D.
more expertise on this than I am. So
Yeah.
you can definitely fly by the seat of your pants
So
way
let's-
more than I can.
We
So,
want to make
yeah.
this fun. It's it's
Yep.
better that way. No need to study.
I just hope that we will babble maps for 30 seconds now and then, so I can
Sure.
get back into it.
I have a feeling we will, Anna.
Yep.
Hey, I'm going to run and grab a water real quick.
Yeah,
I'll be
sure.
right back.
You got
Yeah.
another. We got like 8 minutes, so we're good.
Let's talk about him a lot while he's gone.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yep. So Jenny, I'm really looking forward to meet more of you and see what you're up to and what you're doing and stuff. So I'm really looking
Oh,
forward to this.
good.
Yep.
Good. I'm excited too. I didn't do any homework either, but I made some Instagram posts, so there's
Yes, you
that.
did.
Oh,
I really
good.
appreciated
Yep.
that.
Yeah, of course. I got you. I'm so excited to be on your show, and
Yeah.
I got to check out actually quite a bit of one of your streams the other day, and I was admiring all your terrain and.
Yeah, I never grew up, Jen.
No,
I never grew up.
that's
So-
probably why we're this hobby, because we have a side to us that didn't want to grow up.
Oh, so you watched Thursday night?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's Sausage Fest night. Unfortunately, it's all my my
Uh-oh.
friends. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. You know, we've been
Yeah,
playing. I mean,
it was
literally,
a
we've been
bunch of
playing.
dudes in a basement. I was like, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Jay
I thought it
has
was a
that on.
game shop. It was so extensive. I'm like, what game shop? Are you
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's my basement. I'm like, what?
There are game shops that don't have half.
I know. It's like a football
stuff.
field in there.
Yep.
It had like
Yeah.
2 ping pong tables full of stuff.
I'm on my
It's
way
a big,
over.
big
I'm gonna be
place.
there soon.
Yep.
hey,
I've
I've
been there too. Yep.
yeah, Anna's been in my basement. And
Yeah,
that
a
doesn't
couple of
sound-
times.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds so cool every time we say it on the show that I've been to Jay's basement and survived twice. So it's
Ah,
yeah, and we've
I love
had,
it.
We've had fun
Yep.
playing there. Always special guests are always welcome. Swinging by. In fact,
Cool.
Pat,
I'm on my way over.
yeah, definitely. If you're in the Northeast anywhere, or you know,
Where are you at?
I'm in South Jersey. I'm
Okay.
literally 6 miles from the center of Philadelphia,
Yeah, it's about
on
5
the
hours.
Jersey side. But I didn't go to PAX Unplugged this year, and it's like
You
6
did
miles.
not. It's right
I-
there.
I know. I didn't feel up to it this year.
Half my gaming group today was at PAX. And
Really?
So I didn't have a game, so I'm very sad. My Shadow Dark game was canceled because they were all busy having fun at PAX. I'm down in the
Jay's
basement.
here. Otherwise, he'd be at some cool after party.
I'm down in the basement
beyond
yelling
the
about
wall of
D&D.
war.
No, that would be the scary thing,
Oh,
because
God.
Anna will tell you, I had a party at
None
PAX
of our
Unplugged
places.
2 years ago to celebrate getting partner for Twitch, and I had the Irish Car Bomb competition.
Oh God!
I won again. So
yeah,
gosh.
no one can compete. I mean, you can down it faster than people can say an Irish car bomb. So.
That's a special skill.
It is.
Yep, it is. Yep.
Definitely.
Until he misses his save, then
until
when he fumbles that one, you're going to be bad.
Oh, he's here.
Hello, Ed.
Legend.
Good to see you
Codex
again.
Infernum
Hi,
and the Codex
Hi,
Exalted.
everybody.
Two source books that bring in-depth
see you,
knowledge
Ed.
about beings of
I'm
all
glad your schedule worked
From the
out so that
farthest
you could
reaches
make
of
it
the
on time.
to the darkest
Yeah.
depths of wretched.
Did you
So
just
am I.
you just tell them I've had enough?
Yeah.
Yes, I do that all the time. And they
a
never
multitude
listen.
of information providing lore,
I saw that you had
background,
some
names,
reason to
mechanics,
celebrate too. There was
stats,
some
and
million
much more.
views on YouTube,
That's
and
insane.
there was a bunch
are
of cool
filled
little
with
stuff
demons
that
and
happened
angels.
this week. I saw.
It's the
celestials.
tassels. It's the tassels that do it.
Okay. Yeah, you will get one of these
law,
plaques and hang on the wall
on
soon.
your
or something.
table.
So, yeah.
Codex Infernum and
I'm
Exaltum,
just
bringing creatures
I'm holding
hallowed
out for
and
the free
profane
booze.
into your
Okay.
adventures.
Well, then might get that too.
YouTube provides that.
Maybe not.
Darn!
Ed,
Darn!
on another note, did you get your shirt?
No.
You did not. God, shipping to Canada is terrible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When did you send it?
Oh, it's got to be 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah. That's nothing. Three weeks minimum, because
Okay.
the customs guys have to unwrap it, put it on, show it to each other,
Okay.
take selfies.
Take some pictures, right?
Then it gets stinky, so one of them takes it home to launder it. Then they put it back in.
And then it travels by moose, I hear, through Canada.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
how things
exactly.
get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
moose.
and this is the time of year we eat moose. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I
yeah.
got it on, so you know what it looks like for Gary Con, and for next Saturday,
Yeah,
hopefully.
but Jay, all I can see is magnificent terrain.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you'll see me in a second.
Not your beautiful body with
I showed Jenny a picture of you and me from Gary Con last year, and you're like, you're tall, Ed. You are.
Yeah, Ed, you're too tall.
Hey,
You were ruining my graphic design by being tall.
hey, I can kneel. I was married for 45 years. I wore her out. I can kneel.
Someone needs to get something off the top shelf. You can stay tall.
Thank you.
All right, we are good. I'll cut this short. All right, everyone. Let's see where we are. A couple minutes early. Oh, thank you, Wayne. Oh, Troy. Oh my God, you guys are nuts. Holy jeez.
Nice.
That shows me not paying attention. Thank you. I really appreciate it, everyone. This is our 2-year anniversary, official 2-year anniversary stream. Already got a level 4 hype train going, so
Nice.
people will be rolling in once they realize we're on.
You know what a hype train.
A lot of people give you money and stuff, so and come up with
Yeah.
really cool-
So what happens?
What? Did I hear money?
Money. Yes.
Yeah, they put in tokens and bits and do Twitch stuff. They speak Twitch in weird forms in the forum with all these little
Let's come
things,
live.
and then yeah, and
4 minutes.
then things happen.
We'll
Yeah.
come live here. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 15th ever DM's Roundtable discussion. Myself and my partner, Crimarina Meyer, are going to be hosting 3
Hello.
wonderful people. 2 of them I've had on the channel before. One a lot of times. Are you getting tired of seeing Ed? I don't think so.
No,
And
ever,
then one brand
ever.
new to the Lord Gazamba channel. So let's introduce everyone. Tell us a little about yourself and some a little background if you want to go into it. Let's start ladies first, as always. Let's go to Punk Rock Jenny, and welcome, and thank you so very much for coming on for this cool discussion today.
Thank you, Jay. I'm honored. My name's Punk Rock Jenny. I'm a content creator in the Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming space. I'm especially a TikTok creator and just kind of making my way over to Instagram now. I'm a former Dungeon Master live streamer myself, so I understand this fun world over here too, although I don't have a cool basement like Jay, because I live in Florida and we don't even have basements because we'd be underwater. And I'm really, really lucky that my content is able to be created around the psychology of world building and being a dungeon master in a way that helps others grow and face their fears, and what it's like to be a woman in this space as well, or even a mom in this space, which is unique and a lot of fun. And I'm honored to be on here with Jay and Anna and Sly Flourish. I've read your books. I'm your fan. Ed Greenwood, I've read your books. I'm your fan. And I'm so happy to be here.
I think we're going to have a real fun discussion with you. I saw Tabletop Misfits a little bit, and you were very outgoing and have a nice comedy to the discussion, which was awesome. I'm really excited about this. So real quick, I shouted this out too, but if you want to go to a great Instagram page, here it is. Just check it out. Really, some wonderful things. Yeah,
that's me.
Absolutely, definitely. Great place. So I will keep on shouting out all three of our guests the whole show. Thank you so very much, Jenny, and I'll ask you some questions coming up very shortly. And we'll see where this discussion goes, because we know it can go any direction when we have these round tables. Next person was on 2 years ago. It looked almost to the day. Mike, you were in like December.
Really?
Yeah. So Sly Flourish, Mike Shea. Mike, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little about yourself, please.
Sure. So I'm a writer. I write for the website Sly Flourish, and wrote the book Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, which is probably what I'm most well known for. Wrote a bunch of other D&D books, other books about tabletop role-playing games and stuff like that, including a bunch of adventure books. Freelance for a whole bunch of companies, Wizards of the Coast, MCDM, Kobold Press, Pelgrane Press, a whole bunch of other folks I've written for. And also have a YouTube channel, a Twitch stream, a podcast, as one does. All of the various forms of content that I'm kind of putting out there on all sorts of different places. And but most of all, a game master, right? GM that loves running games, run 3 different games a week for my friends, and just really, really love this hobby, and have been into it for I think 35 years, but really heavily for the last 20. Yeah.
It's been a great journey, right? It's
my God, every day. I love it. I love it every day.
It's such a wonderful.
Every time I get to run a game is a
absolutely.
pleasure. Yeah.
And Mike, you're prolific and a great contributor to the community. I linked Mike's website as well. Please go there, and we're going to show some of Mike's publications tonight too. So I think you said you had a new shout out you want to discuss it, so we'll get to that too. As something,
oh sure,
yeah. Let's promote away here. So thank you, Ruthrug, for following. Mike Ruthrug said he came over from your channel. So
yes,
thank you so very much.
Awesome, welcome.
Really appreciate that. Last but not least, the legend himself. I got to tell a story, Ed, after you're done introducing yourself. This is probably like the 20th time you've been on my channel, not counting the D&D games, even, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Ed Greenwood. Ed, welcome back. First time on a DM's Roundtable, though.
Yes, it is. Okay, so I have been in the gaming industry since before there was a gaming industry, and I'm most known for creating the Forgotten Realms. And 500 plus books later, here I am. There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
What an achievement.
And I'm gorgeous, and I'm now
you are gorgeous.
Hollywood. I'm Hollywood now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Old
Wizard age like fine wine that gets better and better.
Well,
every
why
year,
did
so.
they wait till I was old and my knees and my back didn't work? Why didn't they discover me when I was leading lady material?
So and I said this to you the other day, though. You got to give yourself a little more credit, man. Seriously, you know what I mean? So
I can play tribbles.
Created the world that was in a movie last year, right. And the creator of the world that's going to be the #1 video game of this year.
Yes, exactly.
Just a little bit, right?
How many people? The number of people who can say that in this world is very, very low.
Yes.
Oh, hey! I have another claim to fame. I am the only Canadian who has appeared as himself in the pages of comic books. From 3 different companies.
Wow.
Marvel, DC, and TSR Comics.
Wow.
Wait a minute. 4. I forgot. Devil's Due.
So Ed and I had a little funny discussion. I've told this before, but I know we got a lot of new people. A couple months ago, it's babbling on Twitter all the time. You know, fights go out. Who's got the longest D&D campaign in existence? And of course, me opening my big mouth, I'm like, well, mine's 43 years now. Right? So, yeah, that's what the 43 on my logo stands for. It's soon to change to 44. And I'm like flexing and all. And then Ed comes along. And it just is like, well, Jay, I love you, but let's be honest. Mine is like 48 years long, you know. So, and you know what? You can have the claim to the U.S. You're the longest one in the U.S. So I'm like, Ed, I bow to you. Okay.
It's a survival award, Jay. I wouldn't go away. It's like, I often say to people, you know, when they say, oh, you're an elder gaming god. And I say, that's like being the downhill ski champion of the Sahara Desert.
Right. Yeah, true. But that was a funny discussion. Ed's been always so gracious to come on here. And I get the honor of DMing for Ed every couple months with 2 Drink Minimum. Here's the logo. This is the shirt that's somewhere in custom somewhere, Ed. It's going to every member of 2 Drink Minimum. For Gary Con, I have a shirt for the Slavs going as well. So we got them all going. So I'll wear this. So,
I have to take that back through customs to Gary Con.
Well,
that'll be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're all gonna be wearing it again.
bags, right? Yeah. So as you're coming,
And is this a cult? No.
yeah.
Well, it depends on your point of view. No, I mean no. Yeah.
People should yes, D&D, not a bad rap like it used to in the 80s, though, right?
Well, they have stamps coming soon. So
I know,
Exactly.
right? U.S. postage stamps. You believe that?
That's
What a-
as
good to hear.
mainstream as you get. Yep.
Takes a licking and never mind.
Ed with the innuendos have already started, which I expected all the way, which is fantastic. So let's introduce our host tonight, the legendary Anna Meyer. For all of you who do not know, Sly Flourish, Mike had hit her maps
Yeah, I
up
was
this
using
morning.
the maps this morning.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
that's cool. That's my biggest
Yes.
claim of fame. No, well, it actually is, so to speak. I'm Anna B. Meyer. I'm a fantasy cartographer by trade. I've been gaming for about 40 years now, so roughly 40 years, and I've been doing maps for about 30 years and about 10 years professionally. Since I moved to California, I needed a job, so I started visualizing game worlds, and I've been doing it for about 10, 12 publishers over the years, but mostly I'm mapping, visualizing the world of Greyhawk for my patrons, and I release it as Creative Commons for everybody to use, so to speak. That's
awesome.
that's my half my income and a lot of what I do. And then I hang out with Jay here on this channel quite a bit too, because I love to be here and talk to wonderful people like this. So yep.
And Anna, we got a great relationship. Anna and myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Anna does a lot of custom map work for me, and you
Yep.
know, we're always promoting everything Anna's doing. And the community of Greyhawk is growing, which is a wonderful. Scala, thank you, keeping it rocking and rolling there. Thank you so very much. If you don't know, go ahead, Anna.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm just
No,
going to say I mapped Midgard for Kobold Press over 10 years too,
That's
in
what I
a
was
bunch of
saying.
products.
And-
That's my biggest kind of commission work that is published in
Cool.
books. So yeah.
And Southland was your most recent one.
Southland.
That
wasn't
was the
it?
first one,
Oh,
and
it's
then
first?
it's
Okay.
actually been the first one and been a remake of it, and I mapped Midgard twice over as well, and also a bunch of stuff that hasn't been published yet. We'll see when it comes out. Yep.
So
Anna, you're so cool.
Yeah.
Thank
this
you.
community's filled with cool people, Jenny. Seriously,
Yeah.
and that's why the more we try and get as many people as we can to join. Think about this:
Mm-hmm.
Ed plays in my Greyhawk game. That's how cool this community is. Yes.
Yep.
So it's awesome. We love to add new people in and bring new streamers in, bloggers, participants. So that's one of the reasons why we do these, is to really keep things rolling, because we're not all getting any younger, right, Ed? So if you don't know who I am, everyone, my name's Jay, Lord Gazumba. I started playing in 1980. I started my campaign in 1980, started in 1978, playing with my friends. For some reason, I started logging my Greyhawk adventures then, and now we're up to 1,021 or 22. 3,400 to 3,700 sessions. It's just a guess, and just love everything that we've been doing here on the channel. And I've been streaming for over 5 years, and the community is growing. And you'll see me with a whole swath of great people at GaryCon coming up. Also at Page, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, first weekend in January. So here's my first question to the three of you. I always start out with this: give us who, what, where inspired you to become a DM? And whoever wants to start it off can.
I'll start it off.
Sure, please.
Awesome.
On my screen, I'm on the tippity top next to you, Jay. So I feel like that means I'm the starter for all things.
Awesome.
I am lucky that I got to play in really great games of tabletop games and Dungeons and Dragons before I started DMing. So I had the opportunity to watch tons of great DMs that inspired me. And I also got to play games with some not so great DMs. And then you get in that game that's like, man, if they would only do this, or if they only understood the characters this way, or if they only understood the characters that way. And there comes a point where you're like, yeah, I could do this better. And some of my friends, they pushed me to start DMing the game instead. And it blossomed from there into so much more, into a live stream and documenting some of that journey, and people watching that journey of me kind of figuring out how to DM. Because if you take the Dungeon Master's Guide and you open it and you're like, this is incredibly overwhelming. It's like the first thing you need to do is you need to build an entire world. And the second thing you need to do is you need to build an entire pantheon of gods. And it's like, it's incredibly overwhelming. And like, that's not how you get started, but that's how the book starts. So you're like, I'm going to throw myself off the bridge.
Don't forget currencies.
Right.
Gotta worry about those currencies.
And
get those coins right.
Yes, it's like the hardest, most difficult non-starter place. And so I was like, there's got to be better resources out there. There's got to be a better way. And I started documenting that journey, and that really resonated with so many people who wanted to DM, who wanted to run their own games, but they were so overwhelmed by the amount of content that was out there and the resources available to them that they didn't know how to get started. And that pushed me so hard to be a better dungeon master, because I get to share that journey with other people.
That's great.
I have a question for you, as a fellow person who.
Oh
kind of
my
like
gosh, Sly Flourish is talking to me, everyone.
Yeah, as a fellow colleague who kind of documents the process of GMing, are you worried that Wizards of the Coast will get the next DMG right and we'll be out of a job?
No. No.
It feels like correcting their mistakes has been my whole career.
I'm so glad that Mike said that, so no one else has to tonight. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, Mike. That was the zinger of the night. That was great.
Yeah, and not because Wizards of the Coast is awful, but I think that there are, in some respects, they truly misunderstand the audience that they're creating for. And I think that's shown, especially in the past several years of some of the content that they've put out. I think they don't understand who the Dungeons and Dragons player is that they're creating for.
Yeah, and I wasn't bashing Wizards so much as like the DMG starting off with all of the things in all the wrong places. Yeah. And so like, I think I'll write a book that fixes that.
But I wanted
right?
to set the record straight.
Yeah. Sure,
I wasn't bashing them either.
No, neither am I.
Wizards, if you want to keep sending me stuff, that's cool.
You get sent stuff?
You get stuff?
Yeah. What?
You get stuff?
Yeah,
I don't even get author copies. Darn.
I think it's interesting, but the DMG seems to be the book that has survived the longest in the old format, because the player's handbook and others have adopted very well to the new players and the new paradigm in the game. But the DMG still kind of explains the game how it used to be, and for people who want to do the kitchen sink, so to speak. You want to invent your own world, do everything, so to speak. And in that sense, I think the DMG, there should be like a basic DMG, how to run adventures that are being bought, that comes with the game that you can purchase or run others, and then a world building DMs for the ones that want, if you want to ruin the rest of your life to build a fantasy world, this is the book for you, so to speak.
Totally. Yeah.
And there, I remember at TSR, so before WotC, TSR, sitting in on a meeting in which a young editrix said, why don't you have a slim booklet that goes with the starter adventure that walks you through the adventure? Like it does a playthrough from the point of view of one character and choose the smallest, weakest character, and they're going to tag along with everybody else. And then it says, halt, there's a toll to cross this bridge. Do you wish to pay the toll? Okay. 4 coins, see page 32. If you don't give a hoot, pay the toll and move on. And it walked through the whole adventure that way. And it got shot down by a certain person who's still alive, so I will not name his name. Because, that's just wasted pages. Gamers will never play that. Well,
either Ward or Grub.
Gamers, no. One of those two, but not, yeah. Anyway, but I mean, again, that was the misunderstanding of the audience. Because the grognards don't need that book.
Right, yeah,
but if you want to grow your audience, if you want somebody else to play it when they get given it under the Christmas tree or for their birthday, having that booklet as a walkthrough that they could just curl up in bed alone and read the book and go, now, this is my gateway. I'm in. I know what I'm doing now. And you could have a very simple adventure with an encounter with 2 orcs and a bunch of surly guards, and then one creepy looking tentacle monster or a mimic or something of that sort, pretty basic, and then go, oh, this is how you run an adventure. So, and you could do it theater of the mind, and you could do it rolling. Like Jay, you do it rolling.
Yeah, I do. I do visual.
Roll the dice, and we all understand it. But you could do it theater of the mind, where, like I do when I've got brand new players. What are you doing this round? 10, 9, 8, 7. Oh, you're not doing anything. Okay, what are you doing this round? And I bring the pace up and make it all cinematic just with my mouth, because it's theater of the mind. Because what I found was with the minis is the moment you got minis out, we were here for 6 hours for one GD combat. And then when you got drow and stalactites and stalagmites, we were there all evening. Holy crap. Get the cots ready, because at 4 a.m, we'll be falling into them, having gotten through one combat.
Some of us know how to move combat along.
Oh, well, yes.
So,
novices do not. Anyway.
Tangent off on the first discussion from inspiration
one...
to the GM, the DM.
One person.
All I'll say is this, too. This book was a mess. And there were bell curves at the beginning. I'm like, what the heck's this all about when I'm a kid? But it's glorious. Right?
I still remember that table for unarmed combat, or that
all sorts
had
of
like
junkets.
all these
Just
little
throw
things. It was no one understood it. It was
like, look,
terrible.
what is it? What do I need this for?
Hey, in fairness, I think I've got a table like that in Forge of Foes. So.
that I think is really important.
Hard.
That's bell curve is I had use for that
when math.
Exactly when I studied statistics and stuff.
Right.
That
You
was
got to
very
remember.
useful.
You got to remember, nobody at the company at that point knew how to lay out a book. So they literally finished a section, typeset it, and then they took wax paper and an X-Acto knife, and they did that page. And then that section was done and they moved on. Yeah. So what you're doing, you're building it like a layer cake. The problem is, it's like a layer cake made by a bunch of chefs doing a buffet. And they're all laying out their layers. And then somebody says, okay, we got to stack these all up, put cover around it, and move this sucker.
I know we're on another topic, but it sounds like that's the way every DM's guide in every edition is, Mike. Is that true?
For me?
Yeah, they all seem to be that way coming out.
I mean, there's lots of arguments about like which were the best like DMGs and which ones held to it. A lot of people have been talking about the 4th edition Dungeon Master's guides as being very good resources that included a lot of really useful things like player archetypes and everything else. And I don't know. I mean, I wrote a book because I didn't like the ones that I was finding.
That's
so,
exactly right.
Jay, let me just tell you a 30-second story about that. I had to argue for a solid 3 hours with TSR staffers that an index had to be in the Dungeon Master's Guide when they wanted more art. And I said, I love art. give me more art, but it has to have an index. And they said,
Spoken
why?
like a true librarian.
Why?
Yeah.
It's got a table of contents at the front. What does it need an index for? Oh, for sake.
Yeah.
And
That book, if anything, needs an index. Yeah.
Yeah.
If any, yeah, that one more than any other, really.
I am given what they've been talking about. I am really curious to see what the 2024 DMG looks like, because I think I have a feeling. Sorry, I know we're totally like.
that's okay. That's the
had one
orders
person
of our
speak.
discussions. We
Yeah.
can go
But,
wherever we want.
I have a feeling that when they were designing the 5th edition 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide, that they really felt like they were writing it for people who had already played D&D. That it was, I feel like 5th edition was very much the swan, they thought was going to be the swan song of D&D. And so they said, like, well, if you want to learn, you learn from the starter set. And then if you get the DMG, then you already know what you're doing. So it's okay that it starts off with coin values and pantheons and planes of existence and stuff like that.
That's
But now
exactly
they've got
right.
so much criticism for 10 years.
Yeah,
It'll
but
be very
they-
interesting to see what they do with the 2024
That's
one.
exactly
They
right.
seem to have
They
a better
said
handle on
that.
what they want to put in
They
there.
said
Yeah.
that. That's
Did
what
they?
the starter set was for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
And-
I remember hearing them say that.
Yeah. And back in 2014, the 5e, we didn't know if it was going to be a
No,
success or
it's
not.
so small.
And,
Yeah,
and,
right.
and then it took off. And then afterwards,
yeah.
people say, why didn't they put that in the book? But
Yeah, I mean,
that-
nobody. I don't think any of us would have guessed that.
Yeah.
That more people have learned to play D&D in the last 2 years than all of the people who had played in the 50 years previous.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
right,
Think about
and
it,
that's
which
what
is
happened.
awesome.
And so, yeah, it's awesome. It's incredible.
Yep.
But it also meant that the DMG was written wrong
Yeah.
for that kind of shift. Not that they knew. No one knew that was what it's
Yeah.
going to do. No one
Yeah.
would have guessed
And-
that's what it was going to do.
Yeah.
So.
And another interesting, we have a fair bit of knowledge of what the player's handbook will look like, because a lot of it's been play tested and we've seen it through the Unearthed Arcana program. But the DMG is
Yeah, we don't
very
know
much
anything
like
about
it's
Yeah.
in the dark. It's not
Yeah.
being play tested
Mysteries.
and stuff. So
No.
that means that we know nothing of
Yeah.
the new DMG, which is kind of makes it more interesting in that sense.
yeah, we'll
Ed
see.
knows. What do you know, Ed?
He doesn't.
Oh.
You gotta keep him in the dark.
NDA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
see?
true.
That's good. That we know something.
Cutting room
Yep.
floor. We hear every
That's
show,
awesome.
Jenny. We hear it's on the cutting room floor, and it's going to stay there because it's NDA'd. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Ed.
Just type it in the chat. Yeah. I'll just-
All right, it's only us.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let's just say, if you're at conventions, pay close attention to what Chris Perkins says. he
Yeah,
does.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's spoken a lot about what he expects to be in the DMG.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it sounds great. Like, I'm eager to
Yep.
see it. You know, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. And like I said, I just worry if it's too good, I'm out of a job.
No, you're not.
No, you don't need to worry
You're
about
never
that.
out of
No.
a job.
I
There's
got
so
nothing.
many. There's so many
Look.
third-party companies now. No,
Yeah.
no.
Look, Mike. Somebody used to have a sig on Candlekeep that said, if TSR gave away free money, people would complain about how it was folded.
That's true. Right. There's always another
Okay.
way. Yeah.
So if somebody comes out with the perfect DMG, it will not be perfect for everybody.
Right.
And
No,
somebody
I'll find
else
those
will
people.
say,
Yeah.
I don't understand. And you could say, let me take you
Let me
by
tell
the
you.
hand.
Let me tell you about my book.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's no one way to play the game. either,
There's
right?
not,
There's
and that's-
people who play it differently.
I guarantee you, all five of us have a different style.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Completely.
Oh yeah.
Completely. And that's a great thing about the game. And you find your players and your people and your friends who, and you make sure they're having a good time and they come back, and then you know you're doing it right. So here comes Blue Box in on the raid. Thank you there, John and crew. Good to see you. Rory, thank you. So inspiration. Let's finish this up here. Mike, where's yours? Where'd yours come from?
I played the Gold Box AD&D SSI computer games, and Pool of Radiance and Curse of the Azure Bonds and whatever the Streams of Silver and whatever. And I was like, what's the game behind the game? Like, what does all this mean? What's armor class mean? And what's THACO? And why is this drow beating my ass so hard? And and I bought the player's handbook to understand the computer game, and I was like, this is really cool. But I didn't have anyone else to play with, so I recruited a bunch of my friends and I did it for the same reason that, from what I understand, many or maybe most GMs, which is no one else is doing it.
Yep.
So no one else is doing it. You're into it more than everybody else, so you grab onto the GM thing and you go with it. So that happened in high school. And then I went to college and I was reading Sword of Shannara outside of the lunchroom, waiting for the lunchroom to open. And a guy came by and he's like, "Oh, Sword of Shannara, do you play D&D?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "I've got a game on Sunday. You want to join?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would." And then he calls me later. He's like, "Hey, you want to DM it?" And I'm like, I guess. And so I went I skipped playing completely. He's like, nobody really wants to DM. Do you want to DM? I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I did it back in high school. And I jumped right in DMing. And I basically have DM'd ever since. Like, I've never not DM'd. So that was
we
necessity,
had a great,
but also loving. I just obviously clearly love DMing. So
I had to. We had a DM that was fantastic that ran for like 2 years or something, and we all played, and we just assumed that we can do this forever. And then he said, "No, I'm moving to America. I got a scholarship, and I'm going to study in the U.S." And we were like, "What the heck are we doing to do now?" So we started taking turns, and after we've gone around the table a couple of times, everybody pointed at me and say, "Oh, you run the games from now on." So, and I don't think it was because I was good. It was probably because they were more lazy than me, and in the beginning, and therefore I became the perpetual DM for a decade or something. So yeah, and here I am turning my chronic over prepping into a career. So
yeah, the rest of us,
that's
we have to know how every little sheep and frog and pig exists in the world.
Recipes, Jay. Recipes.
So Mike, you can run a business and telling people how they should do. I can run a business telling them what not to do. So I'm terrible.
Or here's all of the material you no longer need to do.
Exactly.
Yes, but Mike, Anna comes up with these brilliant ideas like zombie goats. I mean, it's just like crazy.
Yeah. I had a vampire pig.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's even better. Good, that's awesome. Yep.
Definitely some wonderful things. All right, so Ed, I know you were a kid. We talked about this during the map show, and this is like '68, right? And there wasn't even D&D out, and you were making maps. So you were like self aware as right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So Forgotten Realms predates D&D.
It does by about
10 years.
10. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's 60 years
old. Okay, I've told this before, so I'll make it really quick. I'm reading my way through my father's den. He's shelving books by size, so there's everything. There's no censorship of my reading, so I'm grabbing everything. And I keep pounding up the stairs with a book in my hand. Owl Hoot Trail, she was staked out nude in the sun to die. Don't worry, it's not racy, it's 1930s, okay? And I would run upstairs, and my father would have a room full of radar experts and 4-star generals and stuff. And I'd say, Dad, this is great. Where's the next one? And he would say, "Son, that author died in 1938. If you want another one, you're going to have to write it yourself." I go, "Okay." And I'd run back downstairs to the den, and I'd start writing. Horrible pastiches, but I was learning to write like P.G. Wodehouse and like Lord Dunsany and like really bad pulp writers. But that's the world. That's the realms. The DMing is a combination of two things. My grandparents and uncles, who were really good at fireside tales, campfire tales, putting on voices and being the monsters and then saying, "Do you really want to go in there?" And so there was that when I was a little kid. And then there's a Stratford Shakespearean Festival up in Canada, and they had a thrust stage as opposed to a proscenium march, which means the stage thrusts out into the audience, and the audience is on 3 sides of it. So the blocking, which is moving bodies around the stage during a Shakespeare play, is really important. And they would have guys in dress rehearsal standing around the stage. By the way, is usually darn near empty, except for benches and thrones. It's basically bare boards. You're imagining that it's a busy street or it's a palace or whatever. And they would sit around saying, "Yeah, but what if Macbeth knew about that beforehand? Let's play the scene as if he knows." And then they'd play the scene again in an empty theater. And then he'd say, "Okay, now let's play it again. If he's a complete twit and he doesn't know anything that's going on, and the witches, their prophecy has hit him between the eyes like a thunderbolt." And then they play it again. So you put those two things together, me as a little kid watching, I was, watching as a little kid, and it was fascinating to me how people were putting on a character and taking it off again. So you put that together with the Fireside Tales, and then when we're first working our way through D&D, and for me that was 1975, the original 3 booklets, and we're going, oh, this is just going to devolve into an argument. There isn't enough here. We changed our minds as other stuff came out later, but as we sat down, that's what we were using as our inspiration. So we were ham acting our D&D. The dice rolling was the last thing.
It's just amazing. It predates D&D there. It just does.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But if you grew up on endless TV renditions of the Henry VIII killing off his various wives in various productions from the BBC, there was tons of this. Good my lord, dost not thou know what evil lurks in the kingdom? Come over here behind this arras, and I'll tell you. And you pull the arras aside, and there's like 3 lords going, sorry, we were just peeing. And so you put that together and say, oh, this is how you ham act your way through a D&D game. Fun.
Well, we're all grateful, Ed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before we go to the next question, I upped it to let's do 5 giveaways. 2 from Troller Games. We got 2 $25 gift certificates to their store. That's for any content. 2 $10 gift certificates. That's PDF for digital. And then let's celebrate Greyhawk here. This is a great reprint of the best publication ever that has ever come out. Period. Sorry, if you want to argue with me, we'll do that another time. Free City Grok box set and reprint from.
I'll argue. D&D Compendium.
But we have to. You should specify
because Steve Shen got a quart into a pot.
Well, yeah, for Greyhawk, because that's all I know.
Oh, okay, for Greyhawk.
Yeah, so we're doing 5 giveaways tonight. So Anna, why don't you ask our 3 esteemed guests a question?
Okay, yeah, I was thinking since I've turned over prepping into my career, so to speak, I'm kind of curious. Are there any specific little quirks that you know that you prep with stuff that others might not do? And I'm going to example that I do is that I prep initial NPC conversations that are specific for players, for characters. So if they have an important NPC, I put down different type of initial conversation that will come up with, so to speak. So that way I can be prepped on what that NPC will harass a player with or a character with or something like that. So any of these little quirky things that you think might be interesting for others to pick up, so to speak, or learn from.
So I'm an over prepper too, just like Anna. And I read Sly Flourish's book in an effort to be less of an over prepper. And I walked away from that going, God, he's so right. And then I continued to be an over prepper.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because that's my nature. But there were some really good key takeaways that I took away and I still use today. And I even have one of my early TikTok posts that was extremely successful was about some of Sly Flourish's ideas, and I can fangirl on that later. And but anyway, I'm sure we all have tons of weird quirks that we prepare for our games, but music has a really critical tie-in to my games. And it's not just the ambience and the background music, but I have the opportunity. I'm a recovering musician, and I have the opportunity to play with a lot of really talented individuals who are also, some of which are musicians and some of which are like way too smart, like they're doctors and engineers, and it's embarrassing how quickly they like resolve issues in my games. But because I have so many talented people, there's a lot of opportunities for singing at the table. We sing at the table all the time. Lots of lore is often presented in song, and songs are often prepared well in advance, depending on what I know they're walking into. And often also the inspiration for a lot of things that happen in our games comes from music itself. So I would say if I have to pick one weird quirk that's not at every table, is we sing a lot at my table.
That's awesome.
Oh, it sounds fantastic.
It is fun.
Thank you.
No one wants to hear me sing.
Oh, same here.
Oh, nonsense, Jay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's fantastic.
Just master September song.
I wish I was artistically inclined. I'm not.
Yeah, Mike. Any little kind of quirky little nugget you want to share?
I'll pick one I haven't really talked about. I like to visualize what's going to happen at my table when the game starts. Like, I like to actually think about, like, what's it going to be like when I'm sitting there and when my friends are sitting there and we're getting ready to have the game, and, like, what do I need? If I'm looking down in front of me, what do I want to have there that I might not have prepared yet? Or, I mean, even just getting my books and everything together and knowing I've got my little fishing tackle box with all my little tchotchkes and doodads that I want to have on hand, markers and whatever. Little tokens, and just thinking about what I need helps me kind of know what I should spend time getting ready for.
Instead of diving into the game in game, you're thinking about
I've usually done that part of it already, right? So I've usually got like, I mean, I wrote a book about what I do when I prep my game. But so I usually do that part of it. But then once I'm done with that part, and I don't know if everybody feels it. I don't know if everybody feels it. I have a little bit of anxiety before the game is about to start. Yeah, it's a visual checklist. Right? And I'm like, I got a bunch of people that fought DC traffic to come to my house on Wednesday night. I'd like to know that they're going to have a good time, and they do, right? They wouldn't keep coming if they didn't. But I want to make sure that it's a really good time. So after I've got like the stuff that I prep, then I do that like visualization of like, okay,
that's smart.
What are the things, like if I have my notes in front of me, what are the things in those notes that I wish was there that I might not have put in there yet, to know that the game is going to go in a good direction. So that's a little exercise that I kind of go through, a little ritual that I go through when I'm
that's a great one.
Mike, you seem to prep a lot though Sunday mornings for your Sunday afternoon games.
What's that?
You prep a lot for your Sunday on that
I mean,
show.
it's an hour, and it's an hour with me BSing for half of it. So it's not that much prep. Like, I'm not like, there's a lot of wandering chatter in my prep. But the interesting thing about that one is that's the basic. I mean, very rarely do I do any other prep for that game other than what I do on that show, which is usually an hour. And when you cut it down. When I cut down all the hemming and hawing, it's a half hour. So it's pretty lean on that show. And in my home game, I definitely talk about like, over prepping. I'm a big Dwarven Forge addict, right? So I've got it. And now that I have people coming to my house again for games after COVID came down, I'm like, now I'm really like getting people together at a table physically is such a lucky thing to be able to do, that I really want to maximize it by like, look, I'm going to make it really cool. Like I really want so I spend an hour, 2 hours setting up a nice layout for
got to do that. I mean, got to respect them.
And the interesting thing is, Ed talked earlier about, like the differences is speed and combat between like tactical miniature play and theater of the mind and stuff like that. And what's funny is like, I'll have pretty big detailed setups, but we don't use the grid, and we don't, we still talk through things. And we're so in character that even though we have a layout, the layout's really just there as sort of a prop to get people to talk about the kinds of things they're doing. And everybody that plays with me knows that that's, no, we don't. No, you're not 5 feet. I tried to move close, but I'm 10 feet away. I'm like, just get up there and hit him. Right?
You don't use the tape measure.
We don't use the tape measure. Very rarely will we say like, well, what's that spell supposed to do exactly? Like, it's 30 feet. Okay, well, you're probably about here.
So on that,
13th Age taught me a lot of that. When I was playing 13th Age a lot.
Quick trivia question: how many here have told the founder of the game's son he couldn't do a spell because of range?
Zero.
That was amazing. That was fantastic. When
I told Luke Gygax you're out of range. That was
Wait a minute. So you told
Luke
Gygax that Melf's acid arrow was out of range?
He was out of range. It was like 300 feet away.
Is he one of the ones who played Melf?
Yeah, it's his character.
Melf was
not only did you tell one of the founders of the Sons of the Founder that they couldn't, that their spells are, but it's the spell that was named after their character.
Yes. Exactly.
That is awesome.
And Jay did it so instinctively. I don't think you thought about it. You just said it. And it was
right. You didn't do it just to be edgy.
No, I did.
He did what he normally do, and that's why he made it so hilarious.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
And you raised your hand too.
Yeah.
Who'd you punk?
No, Luke.
Oh, you did Luke too? Okay.
Yeah, in Tommy's, we do these stream games in Amaria,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Plays Melf, and I play Elminster, and
Mhm.
and Keith Baker plays Merrick's.
Oh wow.
And yeah, Melf was going to do this, and we both turned and said, "You can't."
Is this like, wait a minute? So is this like a common problem?
I
Is
was
he
just
sort of
gonna
like
say.
the?
Yeah, Luke doesn't care about ranges or stuff like that.
I guess like
He's
it
just
is.
like, I'm going to cast it.
This is.
I don't want to
this is
throw
a
the word munchkin
conspiracy.
around, but I don't know. If this is starting to...
Yeah.
Well,
It's like
no,
a
no. They
great.
were getting at me because Elminster would, somebody would say, "Oh, you see the night parade," and Elminster would say, "Disintegrate." He wouldn't say hello. He'd say, "Disintegrate."
That's awesome.
Anyway,
So let's finish up this question. I think Ed hasn't answered it yet, correct?
what? Okay,
And
so
he
my
look
prep.
quirk you. Yeah, when you prep. And you
If it's a
Takes-
Realms
It
game,
takes 60 years.
yeah, exactly. Build the world. Start now. No, okay. If it's the Realms, I already know the areas, visualize them, and I already know the voices for the NPC, the major NPCs I'm going to use. And so what I do is I look at my players when they're sitting down. And if it's somebody new or somebody who doesn't have as much experience as the other ones, I try and gauge what I'm going to need to do in the way of descriptions of the areas, the setting, the rooms, the streets, whatever, so that they aren't led astray. So that we never have one of those moments where they say, "Oh, well, I thought I was over here," or
Mhm.
"I thought we were still outside the tavern," because that's not fair to them, and it jolts them out of the role-playing experience.
Mhm.
So I look over the way I describe things and just say, "Okay, do I have to up my game in terms of description without slowing it to a crawl, so not, they're not all sitting there listening to the dungeon master recite an essay, but that they have enough information to always know exactly where they are and what's going on and what it smells like, what it feels like, what it's like to be in the world." Because otherwise, they're not getting a memorable experience. They're getting one of those, what I call, fourth quarter, everybody's dog tired football game D&D, where everybody goes, "Oh, when do we have to? Can I have a D12? I can't seem to find mine. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
what are we doing again?"
Right.
And that happens because we all get low energy. But I want it to be a way so that they can, if they sit down on stumps beside a lake to rest, then they know they're beside the lake. I'm constantly reminding them that their gentle breeze is coming across off the water, so they know that they're there. So it's the descriptions that I'm working on. If it was not a Realms game, if it's a brand new thing and I'm playtesting it for TSR in the old days, I'm reading through all the NPCs and deciding what funny voices I'm going to use for them. Because if I've got a dragon and a beholder in the same adventure, I want to have distinctive voices for them. And I don't want my innkeeper and my tavern master to sound like generic innkeeper and tavern master number 36. "What'll it be, my lords? Would you like a room for the night?" I want them all to sound different. So I will then work on the voices. But if it's something I already know in the Realms, I already know the voices.
Cool.
But it's all about the ham acting. I'm trying to center myself as
Yeah.
an actor and as a describer.
Then Ed lulls him to sleep and shouts that something jumps out of the water. Roll initiative that would wake him up. Thanks, Troy. Yep, good point.
Yeah, that's the point. Keep the player, poke them to wake them.
What is this initiative you speak of?
Yeah.
You see, in my games, unlike Jay's games, in my games,
It's gonna bust my balls now.
the player characters always automatically win initiative.
Oh, so,
Because they're the heroes.
I gave in to Ed one time at GaryCon last year, right, Ed? What was that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
I let you guys.
And you're a
camp
better
once.
man. You're a better man.
Yep.
No stinking short rest or long rest here in old school. So
Yep.
yeah. So here's a good question for everyone on challenges. Give me something that, like, you seriously challenged you as a DM, whether it's a problem player, what did you do about it, whether it was an argument, like keeping your group together. Give me an instance on, like, wow, something that was really, a true challenge to you as a dungeon master. Could be a player as a know-it-all. I mean, could be almost anything. I know it's a general question, but,
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
start this one.
Yeah, you start this one, Ed.
I had a Gen Con player who had just lost one of their parents, and I didn't know it. And something triggered during the play,
Oh,
and she just burst into tears, and it was like, we have to stop everything.
Okay.
And get her back to where she wanted to be at the table. Because we didn't realize that what was going to happen in the game was she thought she could hold it together, and she just couldn't.
Wow.
And it was like, oops, this is our fault. I mean, yeah, we didn't know, but so we weren't doing it maliciously. We weren't needling her into it. But okay, we got to stop. We got to get this back on the rails, because it's people playing this game, and it's just a game. Let's make it good times again. And in that case, it did need a little rest, and it did need an explanation from her. And luckily, it was an old Milwaukee era Gen Con, so alcohol was to hand and got used. And everybody was over it. And really, what I did as a DM was say, okay, where in this encounter should we move on to, so that you'll feel comfortable again? And that's what we did. But that was the hardest thing, because it was like, I'm used to role playing these through and just staying in character and staying immersed and staying in the game. And this was one of those things where I have to step, we have to stop, we have to time out, and then we have to figure out how to get back into the game without upsetting this person. Anyway,
pre-X card kind of situation.
Yeah, a pre-X card, yeah. There are many things. I mean, if you could play in an atrocity-prone game, where there were rapes and disembowelments and so on. There could be many things that would trigger players.
Yeah.
But we weren't expecting this. This came out of the blue.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good one, Ed. I mean, I never heard that before from you, so I'm glad you shared that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mike, Jenny? It's a tough one.
I'll go. Oh,
no, please go ahead.
All right. Oh my gosh, Sly Flourish just said I could go first.
Yes, you do not need my permission.
You should write that down somewhere.
Yep.
I hope you all saw that. Yes. Well, I did roll higher. I mean, there's so many from, COVID rolling in and like derailing our game and having, immunocompromised players at the table, and like, well, what do we do now?
Good point.
And and I think most of the challenges along the way, because it's such a broad question and there's clearly so many, although Ed's like one specific example was like something, I don't know, I would have like just started bawling too, and I wouldn't know what to do. And then we'd all be crying at the table, and that would be weird. And drinking and crying.
That's a hard game. Yeah.
That would be tough. I'm one of those people though. Like,
that's called university. No.
And yeah, I'm a college teacher in my other life, so I do plenty of crying. But I think one that all dungeon masters face and probably will forever face is the as you get older and your career becomes more complex and you have kids and challenges and kids are sick, and the never-ending, can we make it happen this week? And then when you get on a streak of not making it happen, and how do you come back from that? And, when a player at the table moves away. And I think most of these challenges has all resulted in, I become better at vetting players, right? And there's this pervasive idea in Dungeons and Dragons communities that if you're a dungeon master, you should run a game for everybody. You should be accommodating to everybody's play style and the way everyone likes to play Dungeons and Dragons. You should just figure out how to make sure everyone at the table's having fun. But you're not the right dungeon master for everybody. Your style isn't the right fit for everybody. Your table isn't the right fit for every Dungeons and Dragons player. And so I think what I've really learned, which isn't what you asked, but what I've really learned from all of these challenges is that it's totally okay to not be the right dungeon master for everybody, and to vet people that you're going to share your creativity and your vulnerability with. Like, vet them very carefully, because if you're like me, you have an extremely limited amount of free time, and you want to use that with people who honor your creativity and make you have fun too as a dungeon master too. Like, the dungeon master should have fun.
I'm so glad you said that about vetting and about your style, our style, my style. It's not going to be for everyone. No, it's not, and
Not
and
for
that's
everyone.
it's a great point. And you're right. There's only so many hours in a day and days in a week, and real life has to come first in most instances. So yeah, great point. Got Ed.
In most instances.
Well,
In most instances.
Ed, Ed, you're a librarian, right?
I know.
Which is it's amazing to think about that. So.
Yeah, they let me alone with the public.
Yeah, I mean, we all know we all got those things going on. So, Mike, how would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, so I had a player who was on the autism spectrum, like and pretty far into the autism spectrum, who joined my game as kind of I was running open games at a game shop. He joined my game, stayed in my game. I kept running it there. We moved to another shop. He came with us, and he was a lot of fun to play with. But he had a lot of particular quirks that can happen with people that are that are autistic. One of them was that he couldn't pick up. He had clearly been unable to pick up body language if he was doing something that was annoying. It clearly had been situations where he would be surprised by the fact that somebody would suddenly turn on him and get annoyed with him. So he would very often say, "Are you mad at me? Like, are you mad at me about something? Are you mad?" And like, you haven't even been talking to him. Right? You were like, you're not, and it threw everybody off. And so I played with him long enough that anytime a new person would come in, I'd invite him to the game and I would explain, by the way, we have a member of our group that's on the autism spectrum, and his tell, or whatever, is this. Like, he's going to ask you why, if you're mad at him. And the answer is no, right? Like, it's very simple. He will ask that, you answer no, and everything is fine. And you won't know why he's asking, and you're going to get self-conscious thinking you did something to make him mad. He doesn't know. So just say no. And I remember people that had joined the group later said, "Man, thank you for telling me that." Like, it was really easy to know that was the case, but boy, that would have thrown me off if I didn't know it. So yeah, we played with him for a long time. He passed away, and so we were all very sad about that. But he was a fan. He was a really, really it was a really fun player and a really good sport. Like, his character died because nobody had removed curse, so his head got ripped off by a Varghoul. And that was very memorable. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy,
you got to get ahead in this world.
You got to get exactly. And the situation, we were all like, you wouldn't think it. We were all roaring with laughter while it was going on, and he was all part of it. Like, he was as amused as all of us of this crazy situation that resulted in a Varghoul and being cursed by a Varghoul, having his head rip off and turn into another Varghoul. And I think that was only one of many deaths. He was the only smart character who, in Tomb of Annihilation, didn't go into the chamber that looks like you're going to immediately be incinerated to death. Like, every other character walked in, the door closed, they heard flames, and it would open, and they're gone. And he's like, everybody's getting murdered. Like, every one of the characters is dying right after the other. And he's like, I'm not going in there. I'm going to this other room. And he got killed by Bodax. And everyone else teleported because it turned out it wasn't a trap at all. It was the way in. And so yeah, and then he was a good sport when his character came back as a Bodak and started chasing the characters around. So
some players,
he's a really good sport, but he had been kicked out of numerous other groups, and I think a lot of it because people didn't understand the way he interfaced the game and the way that we worked with him to be able to interface with the game in a way that we all had fun. So it was a challenge. I mean, it took extra work, but we had a really good time. We miss him.
Mike, it's really kind of you to have done that. That's fantastic. It sounds like it's great memories too. Now that you have the person.
Yeah, we talk about them all the time.
It's like sitting at a bar. How weird are we? We sit at a bar and talk about D&D memories.
Yeah.
Hey.
Wait, just wait till GaryCon, everyone. Oh my gosh, this year with everyone going to be there. All right, so here's your opportunity. Any of you want to ask a question for the other two? Or even with Anna and me too. You can ask. Any of you want to ask a question?
I asked my question of Punk Rock. Jenny.
Yes. Come on, Jenny. Ask Ed and
I'm
question.
I'm so overwhelmed. Jay. What'll happen though is I'll take over your show. And I'll just
That's
and
okay.
I'll just interview.
That's fine.
Sly Flourish and Ed Greenwood for the rest of the show, and I'll just kick you out. Bye.
That's okay. Trust me, that happens to me almost every night in my house. Yep. Just kidding. No, so go ahead.
Yes. Yep, says Anna. Yeah.
So, anyone, any of the three of you? I have some questions from the audience, but I'd love to hear some things, and probably Anna has another one or two. Thanks, Bill. Nothing?
I
Ed?
have one
Yeah.
quick question
Go for it.
Jay. Greyhawk, when?
Greyhawk when what? Greyhawk
The
when?
thing you're working on.
Oh, well, that's not Greyhawk, remember. It's
Oh,
it's my
yes. All
city
right.
that's being
Okay.
pulled
Kind
from
of Greyhawk,
Greyhawk
yeah.
into aired for Troller Games.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
When city?
Oh, jeez. Let's hope next year.
Hey, I've got a city coming
Let's hope
out
next year. Let's hope next year. So if you don't know, Ed, I took a brand new job at a major sales director position that starts tomorrow. And I'm flying to. I gotta get up at 4:00 in the morning to fly to Atlanta for 3 days. So yeah, tomorrow morning. So
And here you are with us at
because
night
I love all
doing this.
because this is my beloved passion. Yes. So that's just a job.
Jay,
Yeah.
don't broadcast that yet. Wait until you do your first.
They're not watching.
Yeah, I doubt. Yeah, I doubt they're watching. Yes, but yeah. So, but yeah.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Please go for it.
Please.
So Anna, what is your favorite region of Midgard?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I like the area that run by the dragons because that's something we don't really have in Greyhawk. So that is, now I forgot the name, but it's like the Greek Turkey, the Greek Turkey equivalent in geography, so to speak.
Yeah.
That to me is interesting, and I actually inspired because now I have in my Greyhawk campaign, I have dragons running realms, but more in a subtle way, not overtly, so to speak. And I took some inspiration. So that is something that I took. And then I also have the really Nordic ones where I was kind of not only a cartographer, I was a linguistic consultant. So some of those names, I was helping out to get them right, so to speak.
That's awesome. I ran a whole big chunk of my campaign in that northern region.
Yeah. So those.
But I haven't touched the Dragon Empire. That's all fresh territory for me.
So those two, the Dragon Empire, because I love dragons, and also because we haven't seen that in my home favorite, so to speak, Greyhawk, that much. So that was something I really liked when I read through all this stuff about Midgard. So I realized that dragons are underutilized in Greyhawk by a lot of it, so to speak. Yeah.
Ed, who's your favorite villain in the Forgotten Realms? I'm kind of shocked if you haven't been asked this a million times.
Yeah. I've been asked this a million times. The question, I don't know, my usual answer is it depends. Because it depends on what I want to use them for. The most intriguing villain is Larlock at the moment. Because we haven't seen what his recovery will be from getting reamed by the Srinchi. The most overused pratfall villain is Zastam because Wizards of the Coast can never resist putting him through another grand plan that's going to blow up in his face.
Just like the movie,
yeah. The most interesting one for me is the ones you don't know that are villains, the ones that are doing things for the best of motives. They don't think they're villains. Halaster, for instance. Now, Halaster's crazy. Okay, if we took sane people, there are quite a few rulers, both petty rulers, like dukes of duchies, individual city lords, and more powerful, who do things that we would consider absolutely horrendous. And they're doing them from their point of view. It's the smart thing to do.
So rich.
The dragon princes of Murgom, who are obliterating entire races within their borders. Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
Let's study more about Larlock.
Amy, we had that answer that question about the movie on a previous show. So yes, we did. We had him answer that.
I have a question for Punk Rock Jenny.
Go for it.
Oh wait, I have questions for Ed. Oh no.
Okay, no, you go first.
You go first, Jenny. You go first.
Okay, since we're talking about the realms here, Ed, I steal a lot of your ideas. Don't tell my.
That's what they're for.
Players can't hear this. I steal a ton of your ideas. And so a lot of places in my world are really similar to, I've stolen a lot of your ideas from the Cholton Peninsula. And a lot of that kind of comes into my games. And there are places in the Forgotten Realms and in the Cholt where slavery still exists. And I think this is such a hot button topic that it's tough to run a game where you don't want to, you don't want to like glorify slavery. And I like to give my players like the opportunity to abolish it and be the good guys that are always the heroes and overcome it. But how would you recommend dungeon masters who are stepping into worlds where slavery exists to run it with like tact and in a way that it would be not just politically correct, but can portray it in a positive, not that slavery is positive, but can run it in a way where it's not the focus on slavery, but that can be run tactfully and respectfully?
Okay. The number one thing in all cases that translates to everything. So it translates into the Forgotten Realms with Thay, where having a slave is now almost a status symbol. Because all the undead that Zastam, the legions of undead, who don't have to be fed and can't be worked to death, mean that a slave is a lot less useful than it was in the past.
Yeah.
And so therefore they're more status symbols. But it also applies when you're just doing the very much like real world colonialism, where you're sending a ship to the shores of a jungle and grabbing everybody. The number one thing you can do to play it well is to have everybody in the setting treat it as normal. And that also worked if you remember 2001: A Space Odyssey. And again, the ages we all are on this broadcast is going to factor into that. Whether it was a big exciting thing, but that was the first time that somebody took a gosh wow science fiction moment, and they'd just given us a gosh wow science fiction moment in the movie by going from the ape man crashing the bone to the blue Danube and the space station. And we watched the ship go in, and these tiny little people are down in windows, and we're going, wow. And then we are in the moon shuttle, and it's two guys, and they're talking about what they're going to do when they get off shift, and they've got coffee cups, and all the stuff is changing on the panels in front of them. They're just treating it like every day. And that is the thing about slavery. You treat it as every day. For everybody, the NPCs in the setting.
Right.
So then if the PCs want to say, but you can't do this, this is wrong. And then you have the NPCs say, it is? What are you talking about? Because then you get the chance to have the clash of values. You get the chance to change their minds. Yeah. You get the chance to show them something different, which is, after all, the glorious opportunity that fantasy games and SF games give us, where, hey, I'm talking to a tentacled alien.
Yeah.
Good point.
How does it go to the bathroom? Oh, I can't ask it. Can I ask it that?
Right.
You see, and our cultures are clashing. We don't know, and you're going to make faux pas without realizing it.
That's what I worry about. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me, you just ate my child, but it was just lying on the plate. I thought it was a sausage. It was a tadpole, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's part of I think they're both the greatness of role-playing games, because you can tackle a lot of this stuff that that are too horrible to deal with in real life, and you shouldn't, and stuff. But the way I want to see that, I think Ed is right from that perspective. You need to be able to, a lot of the so-called evil guys or culture or whatever, they will see it as perfectly normal. But then you have to kind of portray, and that's the hard bit. You have to portray evil and stuff as a sort of necessity and normal from their perspective when you do it from the inside.
Yeah, they've never
but
known
then you should have all the other
yeah.
ones who simply say, this is horrible, it's going to be the end of our existence and all that. And so you have to keep, and I would say Ed is perfectly right, but I would add another thing. Add someone in and stuff that you have some that is like a movement that works against them, so to speak. That try to out them and
the
so on.
Revolutionaries, sure.
Exactly. So you bring it, but you make sure that keep real world politics out of it, but try to keep real world morals and ideas to drive it, so you can get the same indignation you will get in the real world, but try to not copy wholesale, so to speak. Make sure that meaning that your in-game politics should be as fierce as real-world politics, even fiercer, but make sure it differs from the real-world politics. So to make sure you reskin so people can't identify political movements and parties and cultures and stuff, so to speak, from the real world. But it's and also make sure. And my advice when it comes to slavery is that it should be clarified as evil, so to speak, by anyone who is not in the cult, so to speak, or in the culture. But for someone inside, it should be a necessity. We have to do this. If we don't do it, we will go under, so to speak. And because that can teach a lot of players, and you can kind of be thoughtful about things. And to me, role-playing games is one of the tools that made me understand the real world, because I need to, okay, how do my fantasy world works? I need to go out and figure out what the real world works, and then try to use that knowledge in my games, which I think is a great motivator to study the real world, because the more you know of the real world, the more cool stuff you can build for fantasy worlds. Yeah.
I try not to visit the real world.
Yeah.
Once a day is enough. No.
Yeah.
Hey,
Great tips, you guys.
You had a question back.
Oh yeah, I have a question for Jenny. Okay, this is one of these cheap ass questions. Okay, if you were put in charge of Wizards of the Coast tomorrow, and Hasbro, okay, so there's nobody stopping you doing what you want, and you have all the budget.
Hang on, let me write this down.
What would you like to produce as a game? What format should role-playing games? What would the cool new product you'd want to do first?
That is such a cool question. I hope they're not listening so they don't steal any of my great ideas. Just kidding. They can't hear me and have never listened to their players. But I'm just kidding. Keep sending me stuff. Anyway.
You get stuff. Damn it. I don't even get my author's copies.
If the moose could come to Canada and get it to you, I'm sure it would.
Damn it. It's border security again.
Exactly. They steal it at customs again.
That's it. No, it's not a hot take. I see a hot take here in the chat, but it's not a hot take, because I think there are a lot of players who are frustrated and feel misunderstood by the game or by the companies that the company that produces Dungeons and Dragons, which is why there are so many third-party resources out there, because so many players like me feel misunderstood, and that this game isn't necessarily is for them. But some of the new stuff that continues to come out shows that they don't get me. They don't get me, right? And so I think one of the big challenges that maybe Wizards realizes is that the asymmetry of work between the DM and the player is astronomical. And so what happens, as everybody knows, is nobody wants to DM because it's an incredible commitment. And so if there was going to be a new edition, something would have to give in order to make it at least a little bit more symmetrical. And so I would find a way to rework that. Also, I know that there are plenty of players within the Wizards audience that still love the books. They love them, and they're always going to have that audience. But there is a significant portion of the audience that is a much newer audience that they've taken on over the last couple years because of the movie and Critical Role and Stranger Things and all these things, who have never cracked open a book, will never crack open a book, do not care for the book, and don't learn. I encounter players all the time that learned Dungeons and Dragons and have never, and are amazing players that know all the rules so well, even, put my rule knowledge to shame, who have never actually opened the player's handbook or the DMG, and they learned from watching actual play. And amazing. Like, I'm not smart enough to probably do that. I have to, see it and then read it. And I have to read the book like 6 times because I have no reading comprehension, and then like highlight things. And it takes me a while to learn. But there's a new generation of players coming up behind me that don't learn that way. And I feel like they are also misunderstood, and they want to do things like, there's more homebrew than ever out there. They want more customization. They want greater customization. They want Pathfinder and more, right? Like the type of stuff that you can make in those systems. And so I think they've got to cater to a new generation of players that want more customization, and the book is gone. The book is out the window.
Okay. Mike, I gotta hear your
Nice.
answer.
Except your books, Mike. Everyone's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
read those. No,
Honestly,
but Mike
I
knows,
wish
like,
people
he has
didn't
a
love.
YouTube channel. Like, he has a Twitch stream. He has
I
all these
wish
things.
people
Yeah,
didn't love
absolutely.
physical books, because holy cow, is it a pain in the ass to produce physical books and ship them around the world.
I
If I
love
could do only
PDFs.
digital products, I would be a very happy person.
I'm your customer. I love
okay,
PDFs. I
okay.
love to read on my tablet. Yep.
Mike, when you are dead and gone,
Yes,
who will evangelize your stuff if
Right.
it isn't?
I love the physical books.
Yeah,
I love
Yeah.
them. You know what I don't love? $25,000 in shipping. That's
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
a bill
Okay.
for $25,000 in shipping.
Okay, so your job is to take over all the container shipping companies.
God, I had to deal with them. I don't. That's not what I want.
crazy.
It's not why I got into this hobby.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
understandable.
okay.
I have a question from the audience that I really think is important. Coco Bunny asked it for Punk Rock Jenny, and that is, how do you go about getting more female players involved in D&D? And she's
Love this
brand new. Our first D&D game ever is she's going to be playing Saturday morning my doubleheader. We'll talk about that. Yep. So she's asking that question.
I love this question for a number of reasons. So when you're first exploring Dungeons and Dragons, you just start Googling things like anyone would. You know, where can I find my first game of Dungeons and Dragons? And you go to the Wizards of the Coast website, because that's the first thing that comes up when you type that in. And it takes you to Adventurers League. And it says, come sit, we'll help you. Here's some Adventurers League rules. And what happens as a woman is that you end up going into a strange game store in a strange part of town, and you sit down with a group of men that are 20 plus years older than you, and they are weird and they make you uncomfortable. And all of their players want to, and all of their characters need to somehow flirt with your player. And it's probably one of the, I don't touch AL games anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with Adventures League. I think it's awesome. But sometimes the idea of playing with strange men is not the best one to get into the game if you're a woman. In fact, I do a whole TikTok series about how if you're going to go play at a game store, you're going to go play at Adventures League, bring a friend. Bring a friend. Don't go alone. There's a story on like Reddit RPG horror stories that's like, and we went to Adventures League, and these two guys followed us out to our car, and then they followed us home. And they're like, don't go by yourself. Find a friend to get into D&D with. And I think this is such a cool time because there's more chicks into Dungeons and Dragons than ever before. I don't play at a table unless there's a chick at the table with me. Just because it kind of eliminates any type of weird awkwardness, because there's an accountability there, and there's no like dudes ganging up on the girl or anything like that. I'll never let that happen at my table. If I'm running games, I will always have a chick player at my table.
Cool.
And it brings a really fresh perspective to the game as well. And so if I ever have the opportunity, I would love to run just Dungeons and Dragons games for all women, because their takes on situations are so uniquely different than playing with dudes. And I love dudes, don't get me wrong. But they're so uniquely different to play with. And so was the question how to get more women involved?
Yeah.
Is that what it was, Jay?
Yep.
And I would say, find your tribe. And this question gets asked to me all the time. It's like, well, where can I find people to play Dungeons and Dragons with? And I bet everybody here had some really good ideas, because it took me the longest time to like find my people, especially because there's so many different types of gamers and so many different play styles out there. And the number one place I always recommend to my community on social media is, believe it or not, is Reddit has a subreddit called LFG, which stands for Looking for Group, where you can be as specific as you want to be. I can say, listen, I only want to play with chicks in the downtown Orlando area on a Sunday night at 7 p.m. who are exclusively into emotional role playing and storytelling. And like, I can lay it out as specifically as I want, and you will probably find somebody. I've tried many avenues across many different forums, even the D&D Beyond forums and places like that, and game stores, and they've all kind of had weird outcomes. And I would say the LFG one is my favorite. And I also really like Facebook groups, like your local Facebook group for Dungeons and Dragons, because it gives you the opportunity to kind of like pre-vet somebody in advance. Like
Yeah.
you stalk their profile a little bit, and like you see, oh my gosh, this guy's been divorced 3 times and his kids don't speak to him. Nah, that's okay. Or you know what I mean? Like it gives you the opportunity to kind of sniff people out. Like if they're only exclusively posting like these politically charged stuff on their Facebook, like maybe we're not the right table for you. And so that heavily, and find your tribe.
Yeah.
Sounds like everyone. I need to get Jenny into a Slav Squad game.
Yes.
My
definitely.
all-female cast. Yes.
That would
That
be
sounds
Oh, boy.
awesome.
Yes. And sometimes I do crossovers with them and Ed, and it really gets a little
Yeah.
over the top.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
make me look tame.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, that's
But I will say one thing about this.
a good point.
There is a new program, RPG Match,
Yes.
which is entirely for finding players.
Mhm.
If you move or if you're traveling on business or whatever, because people can put in exactly what games they play and the style they like to play them in.
Yeah.
So you can pre-sort.
Mhm.
It doesn't take away vetting, but you can pre-sort down to the people you might want to try and contact.
Lando, can you link it in chat,
Yeah.
please? Please link it in chat.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was saying, I think, Jenny, I love all great advice. One that I would add, I think it goes for all subgroups, so to speak, is that start DMing all subgroups, not just play the game, start DMing. If we get more women to DM, just like we would get more from any subgroup, so to speak, to run games, that is, I think, the key issue to get more of that type of person into the game, wherever it is. People with like, it could be people that have some sort of disability, for instance. I'm thinking people who needs to use sign language, for instance. If there's not enough DMs who speak, who can run a game in using sign language.
Yeah.
So it's always the limitation is DMs. If you have more DMs that run the game in a certain way for a certain among certain type of people or whatever it is, that I think is key. So if you're a female gamer, start thinking about becoming a DM or a game master, run your game, so to speak.
Yes, we need more chick DMs out there. My very first in-person game that I ever played had a chick DM, and I would say that she is the inspiration for where I am today. And I think about her all the time. We don't get to play as much anymore because our kids and stuff and jobs, and she's a super smart doctor. And if it wasn't for her being as talented and as amazing as she is, I would not be where I am today.
Yeah, and I can say all-female group. I've had one all-female group, and it was not only all-female group. It was a group only mainly consisting of police and military soldiers and female, and that was the most crazy batshit group I've ever run forever by a long shot. Meaning we touched on so many horrible and wonderful topics that it was completely, and we also had a different form factor. We played for a whole day and usually we played for a whole day and then a little bit, a day and a half. So we met in the morning, we played for 3 or 4 hours, we cooked a meal, took a long walk, discussed things, and then played in the evening and then played late at night. And then we had a breakfast and wrapped up and divided treasure and stuff the next morning. And then we stopped for fast food before we went home. And we went to a location because we were well enough that we go to a hotel, we rented a cabin in the woods somewhere or something like that and did it. So it was kind of a retreat style game, so to speak, and it was a lot of personal problems and stuff. And we also had sessions where people brought a personal problem and say, can we run a session, integrate this? And so it was the opposite of X-Card, don't talk about it. It was the other way around. And we discussed things like, how can we tackle this? And we were like, oh, we want to go out and hunt slavers. And damn, we did. Or they did, so to speak. So
the only all-female games I play are with domestic abuse survivors in a support group, and I run games for them, and they do the same thing. They're like, we just want to run through this and just get this out somehow. And it's therapy. I mean, it's its own type of therapy. I'm not a therapist, I'm a dungeon master, but it really truly is therapy.
Yep. Yep, it was therapy, and since several of them were police, I set them to run a sort of a refugee asylum thing, and they had to run it. And when their emotions overflow and their patience, oh, there we had a lot of there was some fun sessions. So I can recommend it, but that was a style of game that I only recommend to certain groups, and in others, no. Don't touch any of it, so to speak. So the game can be, and I think that's part of the strength of the hobby. It can be so many different things to so many different groups. You just have to be very wary and aware of what your players want and need, and what you as a DM want and need, so to speak. So yeah.
Real quick on this. I think that involving women players in the community leads them to getting comfortable with DMing. I'll give you an example. Yeah. Darling Creep Show, Little Bones, Myriad, all part of the Slav Squad. They all are doing DMing on in some form on their channel too. So I will keep on doing this. I always attempting to open the communities up to everyone, and I think that's the way to go to assist. Mike, you have anything to say on this topic?
Not particularly. I'm signing up for RPG Match right now.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. That's great.
I do have a question. So I have a question for Jenny. Does online play help in the sense that it's certainly if you're certainly not less likely to find creeps, but you're one click away from eliminating from your life completely the minute you find out they are one. Is that a better environment? Does it not matter?
I think it's harder to vet people in an online situation. In an in-person situation, you can meet beforehand, you can kind of get a vibe. And so I always meet before I'd ever invite anybody over to my house. I meet them out at a bar with the group. And I mean, if they're, you get a feeling for somebody in that moment, and you have like an intuition, an instinct that says, nah. But sure, online can help, especially if you're getting new to the game and you're kind of afraid to be vulnerable with your role playing or something like that. It gives you that sense of there's a screen between us and many miles. But in-person games are for me. And so I don't
right. I prefer in-person games. I'm just wondering from the standpoint of being able to vet people with, it's a lot easier to walk away.
Yeah. and Mike, I think that's
index finger.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but it's also easier to jump on someone, especially if it's text and stuff. You can it's if you're face to face, it's more of a barrier to go across and start treating someone bad, so to speak. Online, it's easier to diss someone and cut them off, but it's also less of a barrier to mistreat someone. So I think it works in both ways in that sense.
That's such a good point, Anna. Like the way there's this bizarre epidemic of being a girl in gaming, for example, right? You log into Call of Duty, as soon as they hear your voice, that you're a woman, the most horrible, atrocious things come out of their mouths. And, because there's that barrier of it's an online game and you can just dip out at any time. I was even streaming a game recently, and I hopped into a server, and some dudes heard my voice that I was a woman, and I was live on stream. So I had to cut it off, because I would have gotten a TikTok strike against me. And they started making like porno noises as soon as they heard my voice, and I knew TikTok was going to strike me for that. So I was like, whoa, and I just had to cancel my whole stream that night, just because of, and they would have never had the guts to do it to my face, but they would do it as soon as we were online.
The video games world is so, I think for the most part, the D&D community is really polices itself on that. For the most part, I mean, I don't tolerate. We absolutely don't tolerate that.
Yeah, and also role playing is also cooperative, so that also draws in people that like to cooperate with others and play together, not not combative or against each other. We like to solve things together and kind of get strength in groups. So that's my experience from being in many other communities are tougher and harsher, so to speak. The role-playing game community can be bad, but others in my experience are worse. So role-playing game community is usually much better than others. Yeah.
I have a dirty trick. Which is I like running Theater of the Mind combat anyway, but I don't run it all the time, and I run with maps and minis and stuff. But I always tell people that are coming in that I only run in Theater of the Mind. And for some reason, that immediately eliminates a whole group of people that I tend not to want to play with. That people who are like super, it tends to get the Call of Duty people away, and the people that are more interested. I'm not saying like anybody who likes tactical combat are a bunch of misogynist jerks, but like there's a style of play that I like, and the players that are more willing to enjoy combat in theater of the mind, with recognition that some people have a terrible time visualize or have a disability that makes it hard for them to visualize things in their mind. Recognizing that fact, there's still when I bring that up, it has a tendency to shift the types of players that are willing to even come to my game, and that's
a good vetting technique, Mike.
I'm always like, what are the questions? Well, yeah, and like, what are the right questions that you can ask that have people self-eliminate? Right, like where you don't want to say like, well, are you a jerk? Because nobody says, oh yeah, I'm a jerk, I want to play. But if if there are particular questions that people will answer honestly, but that like, oh, those are that's probably not going to work well in my game, right? The tactical thing would have worked well in my game 10 years ago. I was totally a tactical DM back then, right? But now not so much. So what are the questions that we can? I don't have a perfect answer. That's the only one I've got that like tends to help me is like, are you good with us running combat in the theater of the mind? Brings a particular angle onto the game that I enjoy.
I also realize now is a skill that we need to learn in order to write the ad to find the right players. We need to be able to describe our style of games in a way that can make sense.
Yeah.
So that is something that we need to come up with. What kind of terms do we use, and are there kind of a common sense or understanding of what terms to use and what they mean, or is that still very fluid or none? I don't know. Yeah.
Or you can just live stream it at us, everyone. I don't hide anything.
Right? For a while,
that adds a whole other issue, though, right? Like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Like if you're running a streaming game and you're not 100% on everybody that's in your stream, you're putting your whole channel at risk. And like, I'm just playing with my, just playing with people in my own little room.
Yeah. I've had 5 years. I've had 2 slips of things in just 5 years. So, and Anna is the one who taught me this. Immediately say, sorry, that shouldn't have happened or been said.
Yeah,
we apologize, and right then and there, and then move on, and that's what we did. So, haven't had one in like 4 years actually.
No, it's done well. Yeah.
So, quick question for Mike from Thunder. Your core group, how long has it been together?
My core group, probably pretty close to like almost not 20 years, but getting there, like 17, 18 years. So my Wednesday group, which was primarily made up of coworkers, and has, I think, besides my wife, who's been in it as long as we've been together, so long, long time. I have 2 friends in that group who have been around for at least, certainly 15 years, probably 16, 17 years, all the way through, like we started with 3.5, all the way through 4th edition, all the way through D&D Next, a bunch of other RPGs in the meantime, and then 5th edition. Some people have come in and out of that group. So, I think like all groups, you have people who kind of come in and come out, but there's at least 2 people in that group, 3 people that have been in that group for, probably 15 years at least.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's been fantastic. I've been really, really lucky. I've passed on jobs to stay in the same area so I could keep playing with the group.
Wow. That's understandable. I'm fortunate. 43 years with some of my players, right?
Yeah, it's
145.
Yeah.
So
near anybody, my friends that I've known for that long are all over the country. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is the problem for a play session. People have to get on planes and cross oceans, have a play session.
Yeah, I did the math, and I played for 40 years, and I've had 6 core game groups that I played with. So on average about 7 years or so, 8 years. That's how long it lasts. So and I've lived in California now for almost 12 years, so like 11 and a half or something. So and I'm on my 2nd game group here. So that is like a couple of years. So that about 7 years or so seems to be the time span that I can keep a game group together.
My Sunday group's almost 10 years. Like my Sunday group, I started. And this is kind of funny, like we talk about vetting players. I intended to do an open, I was happy with my Wednesday group, but I was like, what I wanted to do was build an ecosystem of players so that as people left my Wednesday group, I would have another group of players that I could pluck from to bring them into the main game. So I'd have my open game that I'd run at game shops where I'd learn, hey, these people are really cool and I'd love to have in my group. These maybe not so much, but I'm happy to meet them in a game shop. And then I would slowly pluck them. And it ended up being its own separate group anyway, because they were all pretty cool. And that one lasted like 10 years. And I've had people actually switch groups. So I've had players who I met at a game shop, then came to the Wednesday group, then left and went back to the game shop group. And so 2 kind of cyclic groups.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky. But that one was right when 5th edition started. I said I want to do an open game at a local game shop where anybody could drop in and play. And then that became a closed group after I got, 12 people showing up. And I'm like, okay, that's too many people.
So, Mike, it sounds like you and I are West Marches style, which I don't know where that term came from. Yeah, it is. It is a pool of players, right? Yeah.
Not so much anymore. Like now it's pretty.
But that was your intention to start.
Yeah, like back then, right? It was sort of like, well, I'm running Tyranny of Dragons, or I'm running this one big hardcover adventure, in the Forgotten Realms, and but it was like whoever showed up got whatever adventure I was running that day. So it wasn't quite the players bringing their own adventures with them to the table like West Marches style. I had a story. It's just you might jump in and get whatever part of the story you're going to get on any given day.
It's so like half the time, like one of my guys is late at work or he's sick or whatever. Got to adjust. I'm not canceling. I'm not canceling the game.
But Jay, you also been lucky because you have had a group of players. I was thinking, because this will probably come up, so I'm thinking what have happened, so to speak, to my game group. So I have changed. One is changing to one part of the world to another. That's an obvious one, but otherwise it's been more. But you've been steady in that you've had it and you agree with your players how to play. For me, I think it's been equal amount that if we play together for like 5 years or so, I have evolved and I want to play the game differently than I did 5 years ago. And a lot of my players have also been very invested in the game. They had different ideas. So for us, it's been very natural that we like in a lot of relationships, you develop into different, and all of a sudden you realize we don't have that much in common together, and that's bad when it's marriage or stuff like. But in a role-playing game group, it's much easier. You go and find another group, and no biggie in life, so to speak. So I think it's kind of natural, and if you change game groups every 5 years or so, that's not a bad thing, so to speak, and you can be in more than one group. So but if you can be so lucky, Jay, and find the ones you want to play with and play with them for half a century almost, that's a privilege.
Well, as we know, I have 27 different adventure groups currently.
Yeah. Well, that's in-game groups, not real world groups.
No, that counts Ed and Ed's group with you and the Slavs and the DFCC now, the dual-fisted comeliness checkers. I mean, all sorts of crazy names.
But you played with so many many players over the years, and
it's been fun to bring in outside the community people into the campaign. Mm-hmm. It's been a blast.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute blast. So, Jenny, how long has your core group been together?
My current group's been playing for almost 2 years now, but like any game of Dungeons and Dragons where we're not been playing for 40 years, people have come in and out over time, but I call it this particular campaign has gone on for 2 years now.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine usually ran for about 10 years, and then I switched focus and I take an area of Greyhawk and I run it for about a decade. That's been my modus operandi, so to speak. So
let's hear about Ed's core group.
Yeah.
That outdates, outstretches me by 5 to 10 years.
They're scattered all over the world.
Yeah.
The really cool thing is that they have started bringing their growing children to Gen Con.
Aww.
And I get to run things at Gen Con. And of course, the first couple of years, because I stayed home to nurse my dying wife and I was out of circulation, when I came back, I was coming back to run Fate of the Norns games, set in Viking Rule Dublin, not in the realms, but they got to sit at a table and like, the parents were like, "Yeah, here we go again. Oh yeah, you're gonna love this," and the kids are going, "This guy's weird," but it was great fun. It was
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's lovely. It is lovely, and then you realize, hey, I'm gonna die someday. Wouldn't it be nice if people go on playing really cool games in this world that let's do this.
Absolutely.
I don't think
Yeah.
you have to worry about that.
Exactly.
You're immortal, Ed.
Yep.
Yeah. Ask my knees that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't, can I ask a Forgotten Realms question? Because I've been saying this, and I think
Go for it.
Is it true that, I mean, it feels like the Forgotten Realms is probably the most well-documented fantasy world that is in existence. Is that inaccurate? I'm trying to think of any other world.
fantasy world, or you mean just
no? I mean
fantasy world?
any. Like what? Is there any other fantasy world that has as many words written about it as the Forgotten Realms does?
No.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Middle Earth, when I was starting out, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I would say the Realms is it.
It feels
Because
I've been making that statement only because I can't think of anything else. But I might as well ask you because you might know. Oh no, there's this other world that's.
No.
I mean, even like Star Wars. Like I don't think Star Wars has many words written.
No,
about
it doesn't. Because Bill
those are great
Slavisek, who used to be the head honcho at WotC, was a head honcho for the Star Wars. You know, he wrote the sort of book.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can tell you, I work on it every day of my life, and people ask me weird questions about it every day of my life, and because of that, because gamers need to know something for their campaign, it gets more and more detailed, whether I want it to or not, whether I want to have any free time or not. These days I'm down to about 3 hours sleep a night because.
So do you have like a Patreon tier where we get like your phone number so we can text you in the middle of our games for?
Yeah, exactly. Like we want.
I want that.
And what's that tier cost?
No. What they do is they get 2 hangouts a month.
Yeah.
And I for 3 or 4 hours, we go as long as people can. They ask anything they want, and unfortunately, the dreaded NDA gets bandied about a lot because there's a lot of things I can't talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's always easier to just leave an NDA in place than to lift it. So there's a lot of silly NDAs from years ago, projects that'll never ever happen.
But you still can't talk about them. Yeah.
That we still can't talk about because they haven't lifted the NDAs. In some cases, the people who place them are dead.
Yeah.
And you know,
Ed, there's a trick to get around that. You make sure a journalist writes about it, because then you can refer to it because it's been in the newspapers.
Yes,
That's
might also ask them to put some
don't
dates.
ask me how the heck the journalist got the story, so to speak. So
right
from Ed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I spend 45 seconds to compliment Ed? Ed is so busy, but takes time out of his schedule to come on these shows, to come on to come on Gabbin talk shows, to play in my game, to be. I mean, if you meet Ed at a con, he's the nicest guy in the world. Oh my God, Ed! And it's just like been such a pleasure and honor all these last couple of years.
I'm sure he doesn't remember, but that's how I met Ed the first time at the con.
Yeah, it's just been so awesome.
Same here. Yep.
Hey, I'm just a guy.
I know.
I'm just a guy who
That's what makes it cool.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's what it should be. We should just be people. But I'd say it probably is the most detailed one now because every day of my life I have to detail something and send it off to somebody in a hurry because they need it for their campaign. I mean, who knew that somebody needed to know the shale geology? It's like, what? Okay, what are the good midwifery practices in this area of the realms? How is it different over there? And I'm thinking, why do you need to know this? Are we going to be doing this at the table? Because, I'm usually not sanitary enough to deliver babies at a table, I really want to know why you want to know.
Gamers, we are an inquisitive bunch of people. So
yeah. But yeah, it never ends. It probably is by now. And there's no sign of it slowing down, unfortunately. So one day I'll just fall off.
Let's hope not anytime soon, Ed. Please.
Yeah, me too. Because I'm
keep it rolling.
Where's this retirement thing where I'm supposed to get all this money from the government?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
we're all hoping.
I got a couple quick questions here to the audience that were way back, and these may sound like we've gone deep here. This may sound a little more technical. do you like using a skill? I know Mike does skill challenges in a series because you're a 4th edition guy all the way with a
No,
skill
I
set.
do not.
No. Skill challenges, and do your players ever? It's a 2-part question. Do your players ever accuse any of you of just you're making this up as you're going, aren't you?
They don't accuse me because they all know it. It's all very,
Okay.
very clear. I write whole books about it. They know exactly what it is. It's well documented.
Okay.
Can I complain about skill challenges?
Please, yes.
Please.
Yep. So there's a reason. So people in their minds, I've talked to lots of people who have come to love skill challenges, and then you ask them about them, and the thing they describe is not what 4th edition skill challenges were.
Right.
So they have a new version of what they think skill challenges are in their heads. And when I say, I don't like them because X, Y, and Z, and they say, well, that's not how I do them. I'm like, I know, right? Like, because you're doing them in a way that you like. And the main thing was the prescriptive nature of skill challenges, where there was an expectation of the things that you could accomplish and the DCs that you would have to hit in order to accomplish those things. And they were predefined by the DM. They were usually predefined in an adventure. And you would say, like, you're riding down a raft, and who wants to make a strength check in order to row the thing? And they're like, well, can I teleport? No, you can't. You got to be on that raft. But what about Misty Step? No, not Misty Step. No Misty Stepping. No. Well, I want to summon a water elemental to put. No water elementals to push your boat. You got to do an athletics check. So it was like you had these prescribed things that forced it to go a certain way. And all of the agency that characters have to do all kinds of crazy stuff got thrown out the window because it wasn't on that list of the things that you had to do as part of the skill challenge. Now, so what do you do instead? You put the situation in front of the players. You ask them what they're going to do. If it's something that they can do, but it's risky, you have them roll checks. If they do something that is going to work automatically, you have them work automatically. And then you keep rolling to see what it's going to do. And when I describe it that way, people are like, oh, that's how I do them. And I'm like, see, that's not what a skill challenge is. So,
okay.
Yeah, so that's there's my 10-second.
No, that's great. So maybe that was a feeder question way earlier to get you
Could
set.
be.
I knew exactly. Yeah, I think it was Troy. What's up, Stronghold? So,
Can
Jenny-
I just jump in and clarify
go for it.
quickly? My favorite the dragon empire in Midgard is the Maruti Empire.
The
That's
Maruti
the
Empire,
name.
yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I just wanted
I've never
to add
been there.
that,
I
so.
can't wait to go there one day in my games.
Jenny, you want to answer that about making it up as you go, or is it like?
I use skill challenges where appropriate, but mostly because I swear my table just loves the way their dice sounds. Like they want to roll. They want a reason to roll all the time. And they like that their characters are unique and have these special skills, and they want an opportunity to do that. And so, but I think I do them if I know I can come up with something interesting if they fail. I would always recommend to new DMs, don't do them if you don't have a plan for if it all goes horribly wrong, because then your whole situation is derailed because you're going to be can I say bad words on your stream?
Absolutely.
You're totally going to be fucked if you don't have a plan for if they fail, because
or if they critical success or roll 23 times over.
You have to have a plan for if they do. I think one of the things that my players ask me most often at the end of every session is, how much of that did you make up? How much of that did you prep? How they want to know, and I'm like, but you also don't want to know. Like you also don't want to know like how the sausage is made.
Factory.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want to know that I either stayed up for 3 days straight, like for 12 hours each day, prepping this one mountain that they may or may not ever see. Like I don't really want them to know that. And then I also don't want them to know that like I am exhausted and my kid was up vomiting all night and I prepped absolutely nothing. And I want them to not be able to tell the difference between that 3 days of prep and that I just got here, man, and luckily I made it. And so I try to never disclose that, but they always want to know.
Yeah, but I think that's the mark of a great game master, if they can't tell the difference, so to speak. If you can always wiggle out of a situation and always
the mark of
players.
A horrible dungeon master.
That might be too if you're that bad at prepping, or
that's all right.
So you can't get better with prep. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that question real quick there on making it up? I know your mind is filled with ideas.
I'm usually making it up as I go along, because the other thing I'm doing is usually I'm asked to do a charity table at a convention, and it'll inevitably have the mayor and his wife or somebody who's never played D&D before. They know nothing about the rules. So I'm going to say, roll me a d20. Which one is that? That one there. You know, and you want to keep the game enjoyable for them. And so you're reading your players as you play, and you're just doing things that give them something to do so that nobody has to sit there and twiddle their thumbs. And this is really important if you have novice players, particularly if they are shy and retiring by nature. And unfortunately, in our society, that's quite often a feminine trait because they have been bullied and brought up that way. But you want everybody to have something to do and not sit there and feel like they're a spectator. And well, it was a fun game, but I didn't really understand what was going on, and I lost track of it early on, and there wasn't really much for me to do, so I just sat there. And you never ever want that to be somebody's, you know, so you're constantly jazzing things up as you go to give them something to do and engage them and to make them feel like they solved something, not, oh, we fulfilled the script that was there in front of us. I could see the Dungeon Master turning the page. So we got to the end of the adventure. Good for us. I want it to feel like a real adventure they had as people, as characters in the setting. I don't want it to be, and so many times I had to playtest stuff for the TSR in particular back in the day, and everybody at the table knew we were playtesting. We're playtesting falling damage this way. Now we're going to do the encounter over again, playing it that way. And if there's one thing to make somebody bored crapless, it's to do the same encounter 5 times in a row in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's make it different. This time, I'm going to kiss the guard instead of draw my sword. He's a big hairy guy. He wasn't expecting to be kissed by another big hairy guy. So what is he going to do? You know, and they go, why are you doing that? Just to have something different happen. You know, oh, okay, I get it now. Okay, we're at that stage, are we? And so, yeah, you do things like that. So that's what I'm always doing. I always ad-libbing because I want, it's like you are playing to a live audience at a sitcom, a live audience that's sitting 10 feet away from you. You're listening to their laughter. It's not canned laughter. You're listening to their boos and hisses, and you're revising the script as you go to make a better story without railroading them because they are telling the story. Yeah. And that's it. That's all you're doing. So I'm changing all the time because I want them to have a good time. And I also don't want, because we had to have so many tournaments at Gen Con where 5 tables are going to run the same thing in an afternoon. You don't want them to have exactly the same experience, not just because somebody will quiz somebody else so they can do better the next day when their group goes through it. It isn't just for that. It's so that they can have more fun. Oh, that didn't happen at our table. What did you do? You talked to the dragon? You fool! Why would you talk to the... Oh, you talked to the dragon and it turned out okay? Son of a bitch, we better talk to the dragon next time. You know, it just makes it more fun.
So quickie follow-up. How many of you are constantly, and it could be yes, no, constantly playtesting as you DM?
Yes.
Isn't that what DMing is?
Yeah.
Good rhetorical answer.
It's an experiment, yeah.
It is a constant. It's constant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're always trying to, you know, I'll throw in a new class, a new spell, a new creature, new...
Yeah, my players are complaining right now. There's more play testing than actual gaming, so they're starting to complain a bit. So yeah.
Yep. Thursday there, Curtis mentioned Building Authority giveaway. Absolutely. All right, Anna, you got a final question here? I know we're getting up on time soon. So for you, do you have a final question you'd like to ask? If not, I'll go back to the audience. Anna?
Okay, I have several, but I want to I read in the excellent book Forge of Foes that we have the awesome author in here about role-playing monsters, meaning we can as humans we can imagine reasonably well even how elves and other humanoid things with 2 arms and 2 legs. But once
read that
you start
chapter real quick.
Yeah, so when you want as a DM, you have to play all sorts of weird creatures like beholders, dragons, and flumps and things that are weird biology and stuff. And then you have to kind of come up with plot hooks and how you make these monsters multidimensional, interesting and stuff. And you have a long list of things in the book that I think that was one of the things that I really loved in that book, that you have so many different plot hooks for weird things like aberrations, dragons, all sorts of plant creatures or whatever it is, so to speak. Meaning, and I was thinking for Ed and Jenny, what are your kind of ideas for how do you get inspired when you prep or plan or read an adventure to how can I play a fungus creature or some other stuff or something like that? Meaning, how do you go about doing these kind of almost impossible feats, so to speak, and make them interesting?
Yeah, so for full disclaimer, this was co-written by me and two other people, Teos Abadia and Scott Fitzgerald Gray, and I didn't write that chapter.
Okay,
so I'm like,
awesome.
I've read it 50 times,
Yep.
you know, but it's different than having written it myself.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I think it was Scott who wrote it.
Yeah, I can mention real quick. One of my inspirations is nature documentaries and stuff. Watch,
yeah. I mean, I think
yeah.
like that idea of always putting yourself in the motivation of whatever the thing is.
Yeah,
helps. That like if you try to, you know, it's certainly easier to do with I think NPCs and, you know, sentient creatures that you can kind of say like, well, what's their motivation and what's their background and what our goal are they trying to accomplish? Or even, you know, my favorite trick is like, well, what character in popular fiction can I take, switch the gender of, and then drop in as my archetype for this particular creature? You can't do that with like a fungus. But I had a game, I ran a Scarlet Citadel game in Midgard, or in the Midgard world. And one of the characters was a mushroom folk, like mushroom folk rogue. And the great thing is he would go to the compost heap out back behind the bar where the other mushroom folk hung out. And they just slop themselves into the mushroom heap and then send spores off to one another, sowing rumors about what's going on in the world. And they were like connected. They would connect to the larger fungal farms that were underneath the ground. So they knew all this crazy stuff that was going on in the world because they had like this crazy internet of fungus that would tell them all these things. So, you know, there's things that you could do to kind of say like, well, what makes this creature kind of unique in its physiology that you can sort of tie in and role play. I'd be lying if I said I was particularly good at it. I just kind of throw monsters at them and let them see what happens. I think for sentient creatures, it's certainly easier. One tricky bit that we were kind of talking about dealing with sort of, you know, real kind of dark and grisly topics in your role-playing game. And I'm running Empire of the Ghouls, and they're just getting to the pure city of Vandacool, which is this ghoul city. And, you know, talk about like your horrors, like they got to eat and they're eating people. Right. And so they have whole farms of people and I'm like, I'm not going near that. Like, I'm just going to, we're just going to, you know, off screen. I think I literally handed them a map and I'm like, this building, you don't want to go there. Like, don't go to that. Yeah. There's no adventures there. There's nothing good there. Do the other stuff. You could take the Ghoul Empire down. And even though they're totally bad guys and you totally know it, you still don't want to, you know, go there. So, but, you know, it's like, I know that's what Wolfgang Bauer was thinking about when he wrote Kingdom of the Ghouls for Wizards a long time ago, was like, what are ghouls? Like, why wouldn't ghouls be the dominant species in the Underdark? They're undead. Yeah. They'll live forever if nothing kills them. And, you know, they can, unlike, you know, the idea that like Drow would have a society in there, that's one kind of tricky bit. But ghouls, they would certainly have a society, easily could have a society down there. So he wrote Kingdom of the Ghouls and everything else. So that all comes from like what the motivation of those creatures are. I love vampires are like my favorite monster, you know, of anywhere. And one of the things I love about vampires is that they look like human beings or sentient creatures, and they totally aren't, right? Like they don't. They're so old, and their societies are so different that their mortality is a tiny fraction of their overall life. Same with like liches. And so thinking about that standpoint, one of the things I love to talk about was. Oh god, what was the name of the movie? Underworld, I think it was like one of the Underworld movies, and it was like vampire versus werewolves, right? And in the Underworld movie, what's her name? The actress from
Kate Beckinsale.
Is that right? Yeah. So she she's a vampire, right? And there's like a nurse, male, very attractive male nurse who gets bitten by a werewolf and he's turning into a werewolf. And there's one part where he's like hitting on her. And he's taking his shirt off and he's like, I just want to thank you for all this stuff. And she's looking at him. And I was like, this is the part of the movie where she could be like, I'm 900 years old, right? Like there isn't a single dude since the 1100s who hasn't tried to hit on me. And you're trying to pull this like shirt off kind of bullshit, right? And she does it. She ends up falling for it. And I was like, this is awful, right? Like this is such a terrible way. And I think about Interview with a Vampire where they have like, Claudia who looks like she's 8 and she's actually like 56 years old. And it's so much more interesting when you have these different kind of like, what are they actually like if they could have lived that long and have spent far more time as an undead creature than they ever did as a mortal creature. I love, kind of getting your heads into stuff like that is lots of fun.
What kind of outlook would you get if your lifespan is 1,000 years or something like that? Like
so there's there's a fantastic solo journal role-playing game called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. Have you heard of this game?
No.
So yeah, it's I can't remember the author's name. Really, it's fun because the book itself looks like a journal that you found on a shelf that's been sitting there forever. Like it physically looks that way. And it's a journaling game where you journal the life of a vampire and all of the incidents that happen, and you build the story of what this vampire's life was like. And it's like I've only done it like a couple of times, and it's really fascinating. Like how the life of this vampire can travel and the relationships they have and the people that they were really close to that ended up, they either murdered or, it's fascinating, kind of way to think about it. So
awesome.
Hey,
it's right up my league.
Real quick, the chat, the group chat on Zoom, I can't open it because I could crash the stream. So if it's
it was just me telling you I'm coming right back. My internet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Good.
And something, that's what I was exploring in the realms with the Chosen of Mistra.
Thanks, Patrick.
And Larlock and all the liches. The fact that they have outlived not just all the people they grew up with, but the kingdoms they grew up with.
Yeah, right.
And everybody was saying, you have Storm walking around nude, chopping wood and so on. Aren't you just objectifying her? No, I'm pointing out she just doesn't care. She doesn't care. A delegation comes to her and she's chopping wood. She's chopping wood in the nude because it's hot. She's sweating and she's chopping wood and she doesn't care because she has been alive for centuries. She doesn't care.
Spike Firespew in the chat said Tim Hutchings is the author of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, cool. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Any other commentary on that question?
Just that if you're not a genius like Anna and Mike and Ed, and you're just not a genius because I'm not, it's totally okay to just steal stuff, reskin it. It's okay.
Reskinning is the BGM trick.
Totally
Learn to
okay.
reskin. Yeah.
Be inspired by everything you read and listen to, and books and movies and TV shows, and steal it all and reskin it. And if your players are like mine and they're like heavily into video games, then I steal all my ideas from books. And I've got a player who's super into television shows, and I steal everything from music, right? And they'll never know.
Yep. I'd be curious.
I actually steal a lot of ideas from professional wrestling. Some of the ideas and plot lines in professional wrestling are like, what the fuck? And they are absolutely brilliant, and they apply amazingly to Dungeons and Dragons. Like this guy comes back from hell and he needs to avenge his brother, and fire's shooting out of him. Like it's perfect. All of it, Dungeons and Dragons, professional wrestling, they go hand in hand.
Hey.
Wow. That was really cool.
Who here stole Murlocs and put them in his D&D game from WoW? You know what I mean?
Sure.
If you're not stealing, you're not trying, right? So you get inspiration in the strangest places.
Well, we have the flub
exactly
officially in the game, and I don't know where they came from, but we have the rust monster.
That came from someone doing a doobie over there in the UK, I think. That's where that flub came from.
And we had some plastic toys like they made the rust monster and stuff like that.
Right.
That was kind of fun. So some of the monsters that become Beholder maybe have one of these stories too. I don't know, but it comes from the weirdest inspiration originally. So you're in good company. The best game designers follow that. So.
We're winding down on our 2 hours here, and let's ask a final question, and then we'll do some shout outs, and then we'll get everyone on their way. So we may run a couple minutes late. Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
just wanna
We
make sure.
always run late.
I know, and
Yeah.
but I always ask because I want to be
Yeah.
very, I want to be that
Yep.
guy. I don't want to be the jerk that says, "Yeah, we're staying until midnight." Because this has been a fantastic discussion.
This is so
Fantastic.
fun.
Thanks. Thanks, and that's why Jenny, I knew you could hold your own with the two gentlemen below, right? Because they're
What are you
just
talking- I'm going to take over your show next time. And you can be a
Yes!
guest, and I'm taking over.
That's it. Well, we
Yay.
can have some future discussions, definitely, absolutely.
Got to get a big basement.
Yeah.
the base.
I can't.
Big
I'm in
basement with-
Florida.
Well, if you're ever traveling
But
up,
you have to
up,
have
down,
attics in
because-
Florida instead. You make
Yeah.
an attic or a garage or something. So yeah.
So we'll roundtable this. We'll start with Jenny on this. Give us your hopes for the next year or so. What's going to happen next year, and something that you are looking forward to. Could be a convention. It could be a group session. It could be something your group you're really looking forward to. I think Jenny froze.
Yeah, she
Oh.
froze, so might come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully she will be back.
I think you killed her feed after she threatened your channel.
Yes, well, she's done it multiple times. Hey, Ed or Mike, you guys want to take that up while we're waiting for her? So let me.
I want to hear Ed's answer.
Oh dear, because there's so
She
many
comes.
things.
Oh, she's
I'm
back. Oh.
Oh, good. Let's go back to.
Jenny, did you hear that question? The question was,
I missed all of it.
what you have looking forward to for next year, and something momentous that's coming up that you're really excited about.
Oh my gosh, like pretty much everything. I feel like I'm in a place though in my
Oh, no.
Ding!
Damn. Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Ed, you're up.
I can't talk about a lot of the stuff I'm looking for.
That's all.
No, seriously.
Future dreams are NDA'd.
Yeah. Because there
yes.
are.
Okay, no, they're not. I'm back. I see
Oh,
you
good.
now.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Speak.
Okay.
Speak. Do it now.
It says my internet connection is unstable, so
yeah,
that's
it's
more
weird.
Florida
Weird
sort of
Zoom
stuff.
thing. You're getting zoomed
Yeah,
out.
that's Florida stuff. But anyway, everything, I'm doing so much content creation for other games, other tabletop companies, which is awesome because I get to experience so many new things. And I'm working very closely with Valiant Adventuring Company, valiantadventuringco.com, to bring poster-sized battle maps designed by Eightfold Paper Company, these awesome map designers that are affordable to in-person games. And so check them out, because getting these awesome digital maps, going to the office supply store, paying $15 to get a poster printed out for your game for 1 week, like it's not doable. And so I'm teaming up with them to bring affordable combat maps to people's tables. That's a lot of fun. And I'm playing and, doing lots of cool charity games and lots of live streams and just helping women and domestic abuse survivors find their place in Dungeons and Dragons, using it to help people heal, and talking more about the psychology of world building and being a dungeon master and how to play the game the way you want to play.
Fantastic. I am typing something into you now. So we have our 6th annual St. Jude's fundraiser coming up first weekend in
Cool.
February, and I have a group right now with Ed, Luke Gygax, Eric Mona so far. So we'll see if I can get maybe.
And more maps to the people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
More maps to the people.
We got to raise
Yep.
a ton of money this year, so I think we'll talk to you about maybe participating in the fundraiser, because this community's done some wonderful things for St. Jude, and I'd love to keep it rolling, and so we'll talk to you about that.
Awesome.
Yep,
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll talk.
Ed, how about you? That you can tell us. All right, how about this? You and I are going to be at GaryCon for 2 full weekends, right?
Yes.
That's bad news.
Yeah.
We're
For Founders and Legends and GaryCon.
We're going to be.
And Luke has already been talking to me about things he wants me to run in the interim for the people who are sticking around.
That Tuesday and Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. So and there'll be other stuff. And that's the stuff I can't talk about because there'll be some
Okay.
streaming stuff. But I'm also looking forward, because I'm being dragooned into it by Andrew, who would be furious with me right now because he would have been trying to phone me for the last 3 hours. Because this is when we have our studio call. I finally have to finish all of Athcliath as every
The
single,
town, every house.
every single building in this city, an NPC with a dirty secret and a background, so that you can just plunder it for your games. You can just take whole city blocks out of it if you're not running Vikings with
It's so good to
Hibernians.
see people that have taken over prepping to a higher level.
Yes,
So
oh
that's
my
wonderful.
gosh.
That's great.
That's the whole city, 96 city
Yep.
blocks. That's a light overview. That's like your guidebook, like a
Mhm.
tourist guidebook. This is 1/3 of the city in detail, and I have to do the other 2/3, and I'm working on them right now.
Oh my gosh.
You know what the hardest thing is? The thing that slows me down? Writing dirty secrets. Because dirty secrets are in the game so you can blackmail a character without fighting them.
Yeah.
If you know the secret about them, you can try and coerce them into doing something without putting a sword in their guts. And not everybody can be an axe murderer. Not everybody can be a poisoner. Not everybody, you know,
True.
and coming up with new ones. It's getting wild now. I'm getting into
Yeah.
art theft.
Yeah,
And-
who's been with who is kind of it gets
Oh,
around.
who
yeah,
cares?
it gets Yeah.
Who cares in this setting? Who cares? Because
Yeah.
you've got the Vikings who did anything they wanted after the conquest. You know, like just walking into Celtic houses, slaughtering everybody and taking the house. Or grabbing them and putting them into slavery. And now some of them have survived, hardened by years of slavery. They've gotten free and they're coming back to the city for vengeance. So you're doing tons and tons of dirty secrets. So those are the things I could talk about. I'm also doing all these streams and writing a whole bunch of other stuff. That's the thing. I'm working with so many people on their cute little pet projects because I'm a greedy gamer. I want to buy these cool things that come out. So I write a little thing here. I help somebody with a little realms thing here. There's a new setting that I can't talk about. Yeah, I can't talk about it.
Wow.
That I did an entire city for.
That's awesome.
So it's a new cool city, which is a ruined city, as in nobody governs. There are 3 rival mercenary groups who you can hire to keep law and order in your house and the street outside your house, and they all 3 want to take over, but they can't because they're all rivals, and they're all waiting for the other one to get overextended, and then they'll just.
Sometime next year, Ed. The question was: is that project sometime in 2020?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
That product will be out next year, and then I have to get back to writing novels. There are another 3 on the docket for next year.
Gosh, fantastic.
Anyway, I'll shut up now because I can go on for hours, but I can't really say anything about anything. Ah.
It's awesome, Ed. Always some tidbits, and like Ed has a lot of Greyhawk lore he's created for us too, for this channels. A lot of stuff. We're gonna put the Solacra one, with your permission, into one of the publications coming out. Fandom.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
There you
Yeah,
go.
of course.
Fantastic.
And next time you're gonna have me on for Greyhawk Show, give me warning, and I'll write some more lore.
That sounds awesome.
Because you know, new stuff.
But we get to see Ed next Saturday. We'll talk about that in a second.
Lucky.
You get to see Ed next Saturday?
Yeah, you're in a game next Saturday. Did you forget?
Oh, that! Oh, I thought when you said see Ed,
Oh, in person? Yes.
I'm thinking I better put clothes on.
That's awesome. So, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's. You said you had something new coming out, right? If you would like to discuss it.
No, if I could just pitch you mentioned earlier, I have a
Please.
bundle of holding going on right now.
Yes, you do.
where
Can someone
you
please
can
link
get-
that in chat?
That'd be awesome. And all of my books, except for 2, are like $100 worth of books for $20, including EPUBs and PDFs and art and all the maps that you can use in your various virtual tabletops of choice. It's all
I
in
just
one
got
thing.
it this morning.
Yeah, so
I got it.
one-
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So
fantastic deal on all of my stuff,
absolutely.
including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master and the Lazy DM's workbook, 2 of the
Yeah.
my two best-selling books. So they're all in there. Yeah, that's the big thing. But yeah, next year, boy, it's gonna be awesome.
Thank you, Rob.
I mean, we complain and like to, pick and moan and bemoan things that we read in playtest documents and stuff like that. But man, a new set of core books are coming out for this game that we love next year. I am really excited, and I'm really interested to see what they do, and I'm really interested to see how everybody reacts to it, and hopefully it continues to grow this hobby that we love. So I'm excited about that. But also, like Kobold Press is putting out Tales of the Valiant, their version of 5e. Cubicle 7 is putting out C7020, their version of 5e.
Wow.
So we now have multiple versions of. I mean, I love 5e, right? I'm a huge 5e fan. I've been running it now for 10 years. I'm probably, I think it might be my favorite version of D&D. I'm going to see if anybody gets real angry. And, I really love it. So the idea that now there are these multiple slices and multiple versions, and I can steal what I like. Like, I really like the luck system from Tales of the Valiant more than I like Inspiration for other systems. So I could just swap one in and swap one out. And I like that idea. And I know that you've been building your own RPG basically from the roots of second edition for the last how many years, right? The binders, you showed me the big binders. You showed me your cleric binder.
Yep.
20s, right?
You have 20 binders worth
20 different. Yeah.
He has
20 binders of house rule material. So that I think is great. The idea that we can build the game we want
fun.
from components that are being put out by a tremendous number of designers and developers who have been in the industry forever, some that are brand new, some that have been in it for who knows how long, and we can build our own version of the game from all of this stuff. That's fantastic. I am also working on another project now. Patrons of mine have been chewing on it, which is my own city-based campaign setting called the City of Arches. And I'm planning to make that like a real thing and probably launch a Kickstarter next year to turn it into
Great.
turn it into a real boy.
Take my money.
Yeah, that's it. So it's been really fantastic to have people playing campaigns in it. Like I've have patrons who have been running games in this campaign world that I've been building on the fly. It's that meme of the person putting the track in front of the train while it's roaring is almost literally what is happening. So it looks like a really exciting year next year. I can't wait. I'm really excited.
Wow.
Way better than what happened at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 50th anniversary of D&D's got everyone excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So much going on. I'm so excited about next year.
So many people that are just in this hobby and love it and are pouring themselves into it. It's just fantastic.
So, Anna, any final thoughts here?
Well, and I love this. Has been a fantastic discussion with wonderful people. So thank you all for being here and sharing some awesome stuff with us. That's great. And I need to Ed and Mike's work I'm familiar with. Now I need to look into Jenny what you're doing. So I get really teased and this is awesome. So I have more cool stuff to digest, so to speak, and I love it. So and meaning I've been in the hobby for 4 decades. This is probably the most interesting time of all these 40 years in the hobby, which is kind of awesome. We are in a new golden age of role-playing games and D&D and fantasy role-play, and I'm doing the most out of it, and I really enjoy it. So it's wonderful. So and next year it's going to be I think fantastic. GaryCon, meeting all my gamer friends for almost 2 weeks will be fantastic. That will be awesome. I also have a number of big projects that will be done by next year, which is wonderful. So I have big things that have gone on for a year, 2 years, 3 years even, and so they will be kind of finalized, like the GIS, taking all my existent Greyhawk mapping, putting it into GIS. That's a gigantic project. If I didn't understood how difficult that would have been 5 years ago when I started, I wouldn't have done it. So but now I'm starting to see the end of the tunnel, so to speak, and that will be huge. So and there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm currently working on. Some of it I haven't even told anyone about. So
not even me.
So it's good. Exactly. There are some things I haven't told anyone about that because I want to do it. And they're also interesting. The other thing, there's also interesting things I'm going to start next year that will be super cool. But more on that at GaryCon. So yeah.
Tons and tons of stuff, and if you haven't, I know it says they're sold out for tickets at GaryCon, but if you haven't and you want to go, there's people who have connections. Hint. That can make it work for you. So we have a lot of people in the community here that are big deals. Josh if you're still watching in for Gary Con. So it's a great it's a great time. All right, real quick, what's going on here? So yeah, I'll be in Atlanta 3 days. So no Legends of Lore next Wednesday night, unfortunately. So
I'll try and cover that and do
right.
some Twitch.
I appreciate that,
sometime.
and I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday night, a one-shotter from Dungeon 6, modified slightly for Greyhawk. It's called House of the Brothers. It's a pretty cool adventure. So we're having that. The adventure group Theo's Heroes are going to be the group of the 27. You know, you're like, who the hell are they? But there'll be some cool characters in that. That'll be with my normal group of friends Thursday. But then Saturday's the doubleheader event. So I got all special guests Saturday for part one. Oh, look, I'm out of order. Wrong button. There we go. All right. So first game. It's two parts. Starts at 9 a.m. The Deadly Drowned Part 1. So I got Little Bird, Coco Bunny, first time she's ever played D&D. Streamer. Okay, LJ and Cork the Mighty from Nerdy Guide. So we have a group of 4, a little bit lower level, 4th level characters, 5th level characters, starting it off right outside Altamira. Strange things are going on during the festival, a festival of Narol. Right, Anna? So
the Festival of Narol.
Yeah, the Festival of Narol, the Harvest Moon Festival, right? Yeah.
Damn, you're starting tough here.
Of course I am.
That's cool.
You know.
Yep.
That's what happens. You have Greyhawk Festivals discussions the week before, and you throw that right in there. So that's part 1. I'll go to about 1, get the table, I'll change it over. It's like, yes, that's right. I have no other light besides D&D here. So
who has that?
6 o'clock.
Yep.
6 o'clock, part 2, the 2-drink minimum. The legendary adventuring group with Ravalantar, the Greyhawk Mage, played by Greenwood, Eric Mengi with his Halfling Guardian, Anna Meyer with her Sylvan Elf Archer Thief.
Yep.
Eric Boyd's 50-50 still. Eric Boyd has his half-ogre specialty priest of Heronius, right?
Oh, they're so positive. His outlook is fantastic.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to die every adventure.
Yep.
If he can't make it, Chuck Cumbo may be jumping in, and he jumped in during Gary Con with his Crusader of Heronius. So I got that covered. Darling Creepshow will have her halfling thief, Rosie Applebottom. She's always great because her and Eric Mengi's halfling kind of a thing going now. And then Jose Ortiz, the great artist, is going to be playing Gareth, a long arm, an Inquisitor, which is a subclass of Paladin. That'll be part 2. So I got 2 special games going on this Saturday, all live streamed. Please check it out. And then I got to start pushing this because I'm running out of time. February 1st to 4th is our 6th annual St. Jude. This year our topic is Feast of Fiends. You know, let's just pick the worst thing we could possibly pick this year. So we did dragons one year. All the channels below you see, all the logos, they're all the participating channels this year so far. Excuse me. So Mike and Jenny, if you guys could participate, even if it's not on my channel, another one or something for this. It starts Thursday night, February 1st, and runs all the way through to Sunday. And we try to go 24-hour coverage. So we raised $25,400 last year. That was year 5. Yes, we always try and surpass the previous year. So we'll try and give back to the community. It kind of runs us into Gary Con, which is the next month. So I can reach out to you for that. But I do have a commitment from Ed, Luke Gygax, and Eric Mona for my game, which will be that Saturday night. So there you go. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Let's do the giveaways real quick, and then we'll get everyone out of here. We'll find someone to raid into. All right, exclamation point drawing. So 2 $25 Troller game gift certificates, our great sponsor, and then I'm going to give this away to, there you go, which is one of my favorites. So let's do this real quick. I will write this all down, and we will move on from there. So if you don't want the Greyhawk, the Fishy Greyhawk book, I'll assume you want the highest gift certificate that we have still here. I didn't see Chuck on tonight. Hopefully he's okay from Troller Games. Normally he hops in on these. So, by the way, Thursday night's Miniature Building Authority giveaway where we do our highest gift certificate. We do a 75 and a 25 as our great old sponsor there gives them to us quarterly. All right, I'm hitting wrong buttons again. Jeez. Let's do this. Jinx, jinx, jinx. Here we go, closing it out. Isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
Mike Bridges. Well, I know what Mike wants a 25. Yeah, he doesn't need the reprint, so I know he has an original. All right, Mike, you got a 25. The 25s are good for anything. So if you want to buy Yigsburg, the new reprint of Yigsburg and hard copy, you can use the 25 stored hard copies. The 10s are digital only. All right, Mike, great, congrats. Next winner, Cardman 2467. Cardman, which one do you want? Let me know. Do you want the 25 or do you want the Greyhawk one? Next one. I'm looking for Cardman in chat. You got to be on the claim, obviously.
Yeah, he's on.
All right. J Mead, 83. Carman, you gotta tell me, please. Book, you got it. I got your address. I know I got it. All right. And that means that J Mead gets a 25. 2 10s, and then we'll call it. Who are we rating into? Give me some ideas. I see Phoenixy on. DM John, grats. DM John D. Grats, you get a $10 gift certificate from Troller Games. Last one. Ooh, do I know that? Who's the last? Enoch Pratt. There we go. Oh, a lot of regulars tonight.
Mm-hmm.
$10. Got it. Grats to everyone. Jenny and Mike and Ed. What a great discussion.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
so
you guys so
honored
much.
that you had me here with these super legends.
you.
And
It was a pleasure to be on with
amazing.
everybody here.
Yeah, it was great to have
Thank
you
you.
all.
It
I
was
lo-
great.
Wonderful.
Great to
conversation.
meet you. Yes.
Yep.
And we love it that we'll have you back on everyone back on future shows for future discussions, and we got to get you all in games because well, at least once you got to experience my 1E 2E tabletop style. So it's not for
I'm in your
everyone.
basement. What are you talking about? I can't wait to see and play with all that stuff. I'm on my way.
Awesome. Yes, because I have I haven't been thrown out of my house yet for having stuff that there's no room for. The basement runs like the house. I'm almost out of room down there. I think I have 40 IKEA bookshelves of shit. So
I love it.
You have to get your movie poster have go in and more shelves. So you
I
can
can't get rid of Knight Riders because there's nothing
know, you
better
put
than
them in
Ed Harris
ceiling or
jousting on
something
a
and then-
motorcycle.
then
Right.
more,
Yes.
more shelves. Yep.
Knight Rider. I can't get rid of my originals. I got an original
I know, it's
Excalibur
that
and an
cool.
original. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
they're
what's the other one?
Nice.
They're great.
A bunch of Elmores down there, and a Diesel or two. So, all right. I guess we're gonna read into Phoenix Iwaki. He's a partner streamer of us, so I don't see anyone else really in that realm. So, all right. Well, thank you all. Any last words? Thank you.
No, it's been fantastic.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Punk Rock Jenny on TikTok. And Ed's on TikTok, so come hang out with us.
Thank you.
I'll hit you all with one last. Here we go. Shout outs. There we go. Had them all programmed in. So hit them all up and see you all. How many wrong buttons I hit tonight? Just 1 or 2. See you all. See you all Thursday night. Sorry about not being on Wednesday, but I'll be in another state. So have a good night.
Hey, good luck with the new
care,
job,
everybody.
Jay. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Really
Bye.
appreciate that. All right. Let's see. Now I gotta set the rate up. Da-na-na-na.
Now you press the wrong.
Now I pressed the wrong
Yes.
freaking
Yeah.
button there, Ed.
Fire.
So, Jay, when
Yes.
we're hanging out
Yes, sir.
at CurryCon,
Yes,
we'll
sir.
have to talk to you about suspending bookshelves from your ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, they're like, everyone's like, oh, suspend the cameras from the ceiling. And I'm like, nah, fucking way. How the hell am I going to suspend cameras from the ceiling?
Oh yeah. You can.
That
it's-
above
yeah.
you gives me, makes me sick anyway.
We can
looking
fly
down.
to the moon and exchange
Yeah.
parts.
We just
so
got
you can
these-
Fix that.
The new Instalink 360s I got with the zoomable thing, they're awesome. They're just, they just changed, they changed the whole table. All right, we'll see you all soon. Rating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for the support tonight. See you soon. Awesome.
Thank you. Great to meet you. Thanks.
Bye, guys. I'm off to bed. Thanks so
Yes.
much for
Yeah, me
having
too.
me.
Thank you so very much,
Yeah,
both
to all
of
of
you.
you.
I'll be in touch with you both. It was very kind of you all to come on. Thank you. Really appreciate
You're awesome,
it.
Jay. Good night.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Good night.
Good night.